One. We got DJ Horns here. What's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? Yes. We are live right now. Oh, it's giving me an opportunity to ban Mad Max. I'm not gonna do it. Shout out to Mad
Yes,
Max here early.
yes.
Not
Happy
early.
belated birthday, Mad Max. Mad Max shares a birthday with the great Rakim Allah, Rick Ross, and J.
Oh,
Cole.
he
Yeah, it was Mad
sure
Max's birthday on January
does.
28th, too.
He sure does. Yeah. Shout out to Mad Max. Shout out to the
Yeah.
great Rakim Allah, J. Cole, and Rick Ross. What an action-packed birthday that is. What up, everybody? Yeah, we here on a late night. We here on a late
Yes.
night. Thumbs up. Let everybody know we in here. We got a lot to
N-
talk about.
Now, all three of those guys, they have outstanding takes, Mike. So it's definitely not the birthday because Mad Max's takes are still subpar. But
Do
outside of
we know they have outstanding takes? Because I want to hear Rakim call Eminem Muhammad Ali. So I'm joking.
he once told he
I'm
once
not here to disrespect the God.
He once told Baby at an award show that Cash Money upped the level and upped the ante of the game. I think he just believes in paying homage to those who came after him because that's just part of the humility that comes with Rakim.
Yeah, Rakim is a very, very humble individual. Same thing with Kane. I love those interviews that Kane's out here doing. Did you see that one piece where he was talking about when he knew he had to update his flow?
No,
Because he all right.
fascinating.
So what he said was, I think it was that album where it was like, "Don't quit your day job," you know, and he said he had all the hot producers of the time on there, Easy Mo B. I want to say he said Large Professor, and then he was saying that he was hearing guys like Nas and I forgot what other MC he said, but he was like, they're rapping behind the beat, or he was saying that they were kind of behind the beat, and then he realized, like, yo, I'm rapping like it's 1988, and it's not 88 anymore. I gotta update my style. He was like, it wasn't, and I tried to blame the producers or whatever for the album coming out the way it was. But he was like, it's me. I'm not updated to what everything sounds like. Shout out to Kane for like we need more of that.
I love Kane's interviews. So
Kane's
insightful.
awesome
You learn so much about hip hop from listening to Kane.
for
And
sure.
he too, like Rakim, he even though they're both like supremely confident in their skills, you get a sense of humility about the type of men that they are. Like the MCs they are super braggadocious and super confident, but the men are humble and aware.
It's not a lot of people that can out rap Kane. Period. Oh, we got Sean coming on. What you ready to get them on now?
I mean, I'm sure everybody wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go real quick. Oh, Mad Max to the
So
super chat says, shout out to Rakim Allah, the real rap god. We're gonna get to that too. Okay,
true.
so you have Baltimore Ravens going to the Super Bowl.
I did.
Unfortunately, that's not gonna happen. And
It's not.
you were talking a lot of stuff last week
I
about what
was.
they do to KC.
I
What do you
was.
have to say today?
First of all, I want to congratulate Kansas City for a great game and for going back to the Super Bowl. They are the best organization in the NFL. I think it's safe to say, since Tom Brady's departure from New England, that Andy Reid has supplanted Bill Belichick as the best coach in football,
Mm.
and Patrick Mahomes is the best player and thereby quarterback in football. Um, so before I talk about the game, right quick though,
I'm gonna
I
let
was a little.
Sean know. We're gonna get to you, Sean, and we're gonna get to Adriel too. So yeah, hang on with us real quick. We're gonna talk this NFL real quick. We'll get y'all on.
Yeah, just a few minutes. Mike, I'm not gonna lie though, been a little disturbed at the number of black men that I've seen kind of like, and I take this as a microcosm, the number of black men that have taken pride in getting at me about watching Lamar lose because I think they're losing. No, I'm serious, Mike, because I think they're losing sight of why it was that I was supporting Lamar so vehemently. Because we've been doing this show for years. You've never heard me talk about Lamar like this, have you?
Yeah, we talked about his contract negotiation, and we were very firm on where we stood on that, and just the whole basis of it all. I know I was rooting
Yes.
for him the whole time, even this past Sunday.
Well, yes. The reason that I doubled down and got behind Lamar is that I've never seen a player as great as him Because even though he's not the best player in the NFL, that's Patrick Mahomes, I would put him at number 2. A healthy Joe Burrow at number 3, but Joe Burrow's health is shakier than Lamar's. Mike, I've never seen a black man this talented, even in sports, which is supposed to be a meritocracy, treated the way he was treated last year. No NFL team tried to sign him.
Yeah.
Which is literally the dumbest shit that I've ever seen happen in sports.
And their reasoning for it was so terrible.
The rationale was awful.
And when y'all signed him initially with no agent?
No, Mike, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I got behind him, because I'm going to say this, and I mean it when I say it. They treated him like a nigger, Mike, with the ER. And I need the black men that like have been so happy about him losing to understand that this league just treated him like a nigger, and they've been doing it since he came into the league, Mike. Do you remember all the commentary when he came into the league about how he would never be a quarterback? And
yeah, I remember
he needed to move the wide receiver and learn the position, or just be a running back. And even though he lost to Mahomes, he's still about to be the first person under 26 years old with 2 MVP awards. That includes Mahomes. And his career is far from over, Mike.
I was going to say he's young. Yeah. He's going to have his moment.
Mike, he has a Heisman Trophy and about to have 2 NFL MVP awards. How many people are walking around like that? Do you understand that when he's special? You understand when he wins the second MVP award, he's going to be the only player ever that has a Heisman Trophy and 2 MVP awards. So he's pretty special, right? Nobody's won the Heisman and then come to the NFL and won 2 MVPs. So he's been special.
And you got to understand that Baltimore is going to keep building behind him too.
Yes, this team is young. Like, Roquan's not going anywhere. I mean, Zay Flowers, I want to get to that in a minute. Like, they have a young team. They'll be back in this position. He does need to prove that he can beat Mahomes, whether it's at home or on the road. But the way this man was treated as a black man is why I got behind him, Mike. And people need to remember that. Like, people need to understand that this man has literally been treated poorly by the NFL establishment. No surprise. Since he's been there. Like, since he's been there, they've doubted him. And I just thought that it was unfair. And so although he lost today, and I have some critiques about why they lost, because much like he deserves the credit for their victories, even though Zay Flowers made 2 egregious plays that you just cannot make in a championship game of that caliber, still falls back on the quarterback, and that would be Lamar. But understand why I'm supporting him, and understand why I don't support Mahomes. Lamar comes from our hip-hop background and environment, Mike. You know what I'm saying? He talks and acts like us more than Mahomes does, and that's not to take anything away from Mahomes. Like, Mahomes has had a life of privilege. His father was a pitcher. His father used to pitch for the Phillies. I can remember watching his dad, because the Atlanta Braves, above all the sports team, are my sports team.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Mahomes has lived an affluent life. Like, Lamar's from the ground up, Mike. He's grassroots, like, according to hip-hop, like hip-hop itself. He embodies this culture of hip-hop, Mike. And not to be funny, unlike Michael Vick, he gets himself in no trouble at all. He keeps his head down. He stays humble. He works hard. And even though he's always been super talented, you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody as improved as a thrower as he's become. It just did not show itself in this game. And so I just want people to understand why I really supported him, and I'm going to continue to support him, because it wasn't really all about football.
Rigomatic with the super chat says, gang, BI, let's get it. Hashtag team 828Js. Appreciate that. Thumbs up in the chat. And we also got to get y'all hit that like and subscribe too. Mad Max in the super chat says, the only one man beat Pat in the postseason outside of Brady. His name is Joey B. Pat, get your bags packed for Cancun next year, because Joe owns you. So what do you think happened in that game?
Now that I've given Lamar his praise, it's time for me to be critical of him, Mike. He tried to prove a point to win that game, and he made it up in his mind that he was going to win the game from the pocket. And I think Kansas City knew that, and they used that against him. Listen to what I'm about to say. Lamar Jackson could have ran for 200 yards in this game, and he chose to stay in the pocket. And quite frankly, Kansas City dared him to beat them with his arm. And instead of doing the smart thing and running right past them, he tried to do that. And he was on the verge of doing it, I think, in the second half. But he still failed at that miss. And first of all, the play on the touchdown to Zay Flowers is one of the best plays you're going to see in the playoffs ever, where he got from under the defender and then just flicked the ball the way that he did and had it drop in his hands. The play where he caught his own tap ball and ran it, you're not going to see a quarterback do that. The play to Zay Flowers that really changed this game, Mike, where this young man got up and literally damn near stepped on this guy. And Mike, it's one of the worst tauntings that I've seen a player do to another player, knowing what the penalty is. Like, this is the AFC Championship game. Your team is literally down by 10, and they're in striking distance now with a lot of time left on the clock. You cannot behave that way in a professional football game, although I know he's a rookie. It's inexcusable.
Yeah.
And then to compound it by the fact that, and this is what happens. You make a really, really bad mistake as a young player, and so you want to make up for it instead of just understanding, well, we have the best rushing attack in the league, so I don't need to cross this plane right now. We got Lamar. It's the 1 yard line. I'm going to go ahead and go down and secure this ball, and we're going to make sure we get in this end zone. So I do feel it's the two plays by Zay Flowers that cost him this game, like specifically if we're going to plays. But Lamar had a point to prove that he could play from the pocket and win. And the point that you prove, Mike, is winning the football game.
Yeah.
You get what
But
I'm saying?
where does coaching come in at all of this? Because all of the things you're saying, you would think that a coach would say, you know what, we got to win this game. Is that
John
the
Harbaugh,
coach's call from trying to win in the pocket?
John Harbaugh loves Lamar and wants Lamar to do the things that make Lamar happy, and he's a great coach for that, but he was severely outclassed as a coach the other night too, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, severely outclassed, because here's what happened, and here's where they really missed an opportunity. Everybody, and I'm not taking any greatness away from Mahomes, Mike. Kansas City couldn't do shit with that Baltimore defense in the second half, and I've never seen Mahomes get hit that way. Like, they were hitting him. I think they had 100 yards of offense in the second half, Mike. About 30 or 40 of that came on the last throw that sealed the game. Kansas City had like 75 yards of offense in the second half. Like, they scored early on Baltimore, but pretty much about halfway through the second quarter, Baltimore's defense had Kansas City figured out, and Kansas City didn't do anything past halfway through the second quarter, Mike. They literally shut down Mahomes for 2.5 quarters. When you shut down Patrick Mahomes for 2.5 quarters, Mike, which we've never seen happen in a playoff game yet, you cannot afford to turn the ball over 3 times. You cannot afford to let your ego get in the way by trying to throw from the pocket when they are literally giving you running lanes for you to run 10, 20, 30 yards at a time at the speed that you run. You can't taunt. You can't have unnecessary roughness calls on multiple occasions, and you can't fumble the ball at the goal line. Like, think about it. The score was only a touchdown. Baltimore did like 15 things wrong. If they would have literally just cut that in half, they would have won this game. But it falls back on Lamar. He is the MVP. He is the leader of this team. And instead of being concerned with proving everybody wrong, you want to prove everybody wrong?
Win the
Patrick
game.
Mahomes and go. Beat Patrick Mahomes and go to the Super Bowl. Now get your ass out of the pocket and run, because they are giving you lanes to run because they know that you want to beat them from the pocket. And Mike, he did beat them from the pocket. Those throws to Zay Flowers were great, but they left him so many lanes. He literally could have ran for about 200 yards and thrown for another 150, and they would have won this game. 3 turnovers, Mike, and it was a 7-point game. So it's a failure from top to bottom. It's a failure in coaching. It's a failure by Lamar. And here's the biggest failure of the coaching staff. There's this guy named Odell Beckham Jr., Mike, and they, for some reason, didn't throw to him until about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Weird, right?
And that, Mike, that's not the quarterback. That's the coach, because the coach needs to go to the quarterback and be like, hey, get the ball to OBJ too. Stop just throwing deep to Zay.
Some of these things you're saying makes you question how much they wanted to win this game, actually.
Here's another thing too, Mike. I know Mark Andrews is technically, quote unquote, the best player on their team on offense other than Lamar. He had been out for like 8-9 weeks, Mike. Right. You're starting him in the AFC Championship game. That throws chemistry off. Yep. That's coaching. The coach
that's Jameer Nelson-ish.
Hey, yes, very Jameer Nelson-ish. It's like, I know that you are who you are, but we got this far without you. I'm going to need you to spot Isaiah Likely, because here's the thing. Now they came out running a 2 tight end set instead of their normal 3 wide receiver set. Guess who the 3rd wide receiver is? That's Odell. You
Yep.
don't sacrifice Odell in a big game for a guy that's been injured, even if he's even if he's a top 3 tight end, which I think he is. It would be him, Kelsey, and Kittle. But
Hmm.
you don't do that in the AFC Championship game, Mike. So there's a slew of errors on the coaching staff that Harbaugh needs to hold himself accountable for. And here's the real thing: they need to keep this defense together and give this defense another shot, because that defense did its job, Mike. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes hit like that. And Kansas City literally went about 30 minutes without being able to score the ball at all on this defense.
Let me get to the super chat. Small 7 with the super chat says, I still can't believe Lamar didn't run the ball much. KC played man all day, and the running lanes were wide open. Still disappointed. Mad Max with the super
Mike,
chat says, Lamar had a Kobe versus Phoenix Game 7 moment when Kobe stopped shooting to prove a point. He should have ran, but it is what it is.
listen, I
We
don't,
got another
Mike,
one
do you
from
know how,
Mad Max, real quick. He says, and to my Detroit people, I don't know who y'all called your team to tell. I'm sorry, who called your team to tell you to chill on the Niners, but that was a rigged NFL whack for that. Go ahead.
we can get to that right quick. Mike, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. People don't run for 200 yards in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He literally had the type of lanes and has the type of speed that he legitimately could have ran for 200 yards yesterday, Mike. Like legitimately. And they would have won this game. They would have had more time of possession. And so this is a failure in a big moment. It's a big failure in a big moment by Lamar, by John Harbaugh, and by the staff as a whole. Somebody should have told them to sit the tight end and stick with the 3 wide receiver set. And when them guys stayed in man, John should have just looked at Lamar and be like, hey, prove your point in the Super Bowl. Let's go run wild on these boys.
I'm going to go ahead and get Andrell on, man. And I see Sean went away. We can still talk this, but yeah, I see
Yeah.
Sean went away. Let's get Sean to call back. Let's see. Let me get everybody in here. Boom, boom. All right. I see some people on the screen now. How we doing, brother?
Yo, peace, peace.
Peace, peace. We're waiting on Sean to come back in here. Tell him he can call back if he's watching or whatnot. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, y'all. Thanks for having me on here. I appreciate that.
Of course. No. Thank y'all for the incredible list, man. I know that Coop wanted to speak to you guys on the list on air as well so that we could, hash those things out. We're going to talk about this Benny the Butcher album as well. We're going to talk about Nicki Minaj's diss record, Megan, and this Benzino diss record towards M, which I thought was actually pretty good. But, we'll get to that in a second.
Of course you did.
I thought it was actually pretty good.
Right.
So, you want to wait on Sean, or you want to just jump into it, Coop?
We can jump into it right quick. I just hit Sean up. He should be coming on in a minute.
There he is.
Right. Well, we can wait if he's jumping in right now.
Boom, boom. It says guest is in the green room. Let's just go ahead and throw him on the top left. All right, there we go. I think we're in there.
Yo, what's good?
What's good?
Peace,
What's good?
peace.
How we doing, sir?
Yo, can y'all see me?
Yeah.
Good?
We see you. You live and in color right
we
now.
got you good.
Yep. That's what's up, man.
So yes,
Peace,
these are
Sean.
the gentlemen who are behind the KD series, Magic series, countdown, the top 80 songs of Hit-Boy and Nas's incredible 6-album run. For the people that missed that episode, let me put it on the screen right now. Actually, boom. So yeah, we went through it. Magic 2 intro was number 80. And Store Run was number 1, and we got all the stuff in between. Where do y'all want to start? You want to start at number 1?
We could go wherever with it. First of all, like I said, appreciate y'all having me on here.
Of course.
It's actually my second time because I think I did a Patreon on one of y'all shows before. So,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
the new kid on the block as far as this grassroots media content. But, shout out to the homie Sean. He's been somebody who's been behind the scenes for a while. He ain't gonna say it, he gonna be modest, right? So he actually had, podcasts back in 2020, did some writing behind the scenes. So we linked up and, try to put out good content for the people.
For sure. And we're loving it, man. We appreciate that.
So before we get started and kind of go through your list again and get some of your rationale, what was the rationale for just putting this list together, and how long did it take you to put this list together?
Sean, you want to answer that one?
I feel like I have a lag time. Are you guys seeing like a crazy lag on my side? It's like I'm lagging
No, I
like
think you're
crazy. Let me
good.
go. Let me go, wild fellas, and come back in because I'm like
Okay.
lagging like crazy.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I got it from here. As far as the motivation behind it, right? It seems, can't say for sure, but it seems the Nas and Hit-Boy run, it came to an end, right? But like they said, they'll spin the block at any time on the 1-800 Nas and Hit. You see it on the T-shirt, right? So I just wanted to put in perspective the greatness that the run was. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can't really appreciate something until you bust it down, right? Like everybody talked about what their favorite albums were and ranked the albums, but I didn't see nobody really taking the time to parse out every song that they put out and do a list, so to speak. And this is not a definitive list or anything. This is just based on, our opinion. And the whole process and editing took about a little over 3 weeks
Oh,
before
wow.
we felt comfortable enough to put it out.
Okay. So you really put a lot of thought into this. So
Yeah,
I kind of want to start at your 80 through 71 and ask you a couple of questions right quick.
sure.
So first of all, I think Irvin Magic Johnson is the weakest song of all these songs like that have been made. And so I see that you have it at number 76, but explain to me why it's number 76 and not number 80. Because I do think it's the weakest song by far. I think it's the weakest beat Hit-Boy did. And I think timing and delivery wise, it's not in, like, Nas has been in a special pocket flow wise with this run.
Hmm. Well, if I'm being honest, 80's a cheat code, right? With the Magic 2 intro. So that way didn't have to call any particular song like the worst one, so to speak. So, but one thing I will say, for me, I like Irvin Magic Johnson, right? I think the beat is hard, knocks in the whip. Nas is trying something different with his flow. I can see it being played at, in the NBA All-Star game or during the finals, what have you. It wasn't a fan favorite off Magic 2, but I particularly like it more than some of the other joints that was listed behind it. But that goes to a lot of what went into this list anyway. When we're talking about certain groupings, right? Whether it be the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, a lot of these songs are splitting hairs because we feel like the whole, run was quality. So when we was sparring back and forth, me, Sean, and another homie, shout out to Trife, he contributed to the list as well. It was a lot of, people going to bat for their favorite songs off their favorite albums. There was a lot of sparring going back and forth. And and that's something I wanted to talk about, especially with you, Coop, because I think I heard you say on one show that you were going to look to maybe do your own list. But as an independent thinker, to me, that's easier to do, and I hit you on the side for doing the Rock the Bells beat list, right? Doing a list on your own as an independent thinker is a little bit easier when you're collaborating with a brain trust as a team, because I heard you say to Mike, well, Mike said that he holds Get Light really high, right? And you said you
I
don't
do
hold
think
it as high. So then
I don't hold
where does that land?
I don't hold it as high as Mike does, but I echo a lot of Mike's sentiments about Get Light. So
Right.
when I'm saying like I'm not as high on it as he is, I think Mike probably has it top 20 in this run. I probably have it top 25. You know what I mean? So I think even with that,
Got you.
something like that, Mike and I are probably splitting hairs like that. It's like I think it's definitely on the higher end. And I think Mike does too. I just think Mike reveres the song more because I think, how about this? Get Light gives off some Tribe vibes, and that's Mike's group, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Midnight
so,
Marauders. I mean, I
yeah.
think too, to piggyback on that, it is tough for us to do lists together. It's so much easier to do it individually because y'all have seen the shows when me and Coop try to put together lists. It just never comes out because it's just too much back and forth. So we just say, you know what, we're just going to do an individual list and then we're going to put it together some kind of way. So yeah, for y'all to be able to collectively put together this list, I'm sure that was very difficult. I was going to ask you though, with it being a collective thing, was Store Run something that everybody was like, okay, that's number one, or was it a whole debate? And if it was a debate, what were the songs, you guys were debating with Store Run on being number one?
I mean, it was a short-lived debate. We all kind of agreed that Store Run was the number one joint. And that was based on we considered like lyrics, beat, feeling, if it was a single, the impact, and to incorporate the space. What are the fans saying? Because we didn't want to be tone deaf. This is not like Adriel and Sean and Tribe's personal opinion. What we tune into all the podcasts and on Twitter. What are the fans saying? So we took all that into account, and it was really between Store Run, Sun, and Speechless, right, Sean?
Mm.
Yeah. It was tough. That was the tough one because we all hold different songs to a certain level of likeness in our own personal opinion. For me, Queens Get the Money, so Done resonates with me a little bit more. You know what I mean? So being able to say, okay, let's go with Store Run. Let's talk about, how important Store Run is lyrically, beat wise, flow, everything captures Store Run as a number one song. And we went back and forth on that because the good thing about this, this run is the fact that you can say the same about 5 or 10 songs easily, right? Store Run can be number one today, and something else could be number one next week. So we struggled with that for 3 weeks. We actually had arguments about what was supposed to be number one or 1 through 5. And we still, even after the list is done, we're still talking about it like, yo, you should have gone this route as opposed to the other route. But Soul Run collectively became one of the songs that we felt strong about, that we could defend being number one.
Gotcha.
I think the most ironclad case for number one is Store Run. And so I do rationalize and subscribe to that as well. I'm going to tell you what my actual biggest problem on this list is because it's the 70 through 61, but it's a song in particular. Y'all have Hollywood Gangsta at number 67, and I think that's wild.
Yo,
Mm.
that's
67?
That's AG convincing the room. Yeah.
Listen,
Okay.
for me, Hollywood Gangsta and Woo for the Children are the two weakest tracks on Magic One, and that was just to me, and really, like I said, when you're doing this list with other people contributing, we had to pick and choose our spots what we really want to go to bat for, right? And Sean was heavy on KD1. Like we argued so much about KD1 song placements based on Sean. For myself, Magic 3 was the hardest to accurately rate because of recency bias. And I feel like I graded Magic 3 tougher because I didn't want to fall victim to the moment. For example, Sean probably remembers this. When I looked at the top 10, at one point, Magic 3 was the only, and it ended up in the final version. Magic 3 was the only album that didn't have a song represented in the top 10. And then I tried to start like shoehorning a couple songs in there, like Japanese Soul Bar or Fever or what have you. But then it felt forced because I'm like, does it really jump over this song or this song? You know what I mean? Because we haven't had as much time to live with the songs on Magic 3 yet. So it was tough.
So here's my problem with you having Hollywood Gangsta at 67. You have Wave Gods at 20, but Hollywood Gangsta at 67. I personally think Hollywood Gangsta is better than than Wave Gods, but it was the disparity that struck me. Like I was expecting at least like, and maybe I just, for me, Nas is in a special pocket rhyme wise on that beat because it's not the type of beat he normally picks. And his pocket and his flow and his delivery and actually the lyrics that he's spitting and the hook for me, I think it's one of the better mic performances. Of course, it's on Magic. It's one of the better mic performances of this run, actually. Like, I think the mic performance on Hollywood Gangster is probably top 15-ish for me in terms of songs. And so I have it super high because of that, because like his flow on there is special. His hook game on there is special. I think it suffers from the fact that it's not as good as the songs that come before it, which is literally Speechless, Meet Joe Black, and Ugly. So it feels like a drop off. But lyrically, I don't think it's a drop off. Like, and I find it to be a superior record to Wave God. So I just thought I was really surprised that was that low. And also too, so y'all not feeling Brunch on Sundays, huh?
I was gonna get to Brunch on Sunday.
I love Brunch on Sundays, but I want to give a quick rebuttal to the Wave Gods, right?
Okay.
I may agree with you. It might not be that much space between them, but like I said, a lot of these songs were splitting hairs. What I do appreciate you did on your show, instead of saying, well, this song should be higher, that song should be higher, like, people do on Twitter or whatever, you actually parsed it out and said, well, I would move this song down lower and I would put this one here or whatever. You actually gave context to what you were saying, and I appreciate that. But with that said, let's parse it out. Like Wave Gods, when we're talking about the space, it means more to the fan base, right? If I didn't tell you that Hit-Boy produced that track, a lot of the fan base would be going crazy over that, thinking Primo actually did that, right? And not only that, he knew what he was tapping into, so he goes and gets the guy that everybody's clamoring for Nas to do work with anyway and say, yo, Preem, you do the scratches on this song, right? So that jumps it up another level because we don't got the Primo album yet, but this is a little taste with him doing the scratches. And then Rocky came through with a phenomenal feature verse, which is arguably top 5 in the whole run. Like, only verses I would put ahead of it are Lauren, Wayne, and AZ. And Hit-Boy's verse on Composure is probably slapboxing with Rocky on Wave Gods. So when you factor in all these things, Wave Gods is going to rank pretty high. Plus, it was a single and it rang off. So that was the thought process on that versus factors that made it special.
Matt Max with the super chat says, Mike, let's not talk about Nicki. LOL. You were proven right about the voices that she do ruin in the diss lines. We're good on the delivery and the voice, wasn't it?
We're gonna get to Nicki a little later.
Nicki a little later. Just wanted to acknowledge that.
When we rated Magic, I did speak to the fact, and you're right about this, and kudos to you for recognizing it's like, oh no, if you didn't know any better, you'd think Primo did that beat.
Right.
And I guarantee you, had they featured it, it made it seem like it was a DJ Premier track, it probably would have went even crazier. Some of my thought about Wave Gods is that it has a, not like the song, but like the ethos. It has a New York State of Mind type of feel to it. And I think Hollywood Gangsta is just a more palatable record for those outside of the tri-state and upstate area. But hold on, and real quick, like, well, what's your thoughts on Brunch on Sunday? Because here's why I hold Brunch on Sunday so high, and I've said this before too. It's the degree of difficulty that's accomplished with the record. He wasn't able to make records like this early in his career, and so I look at his ability to make a record like that now, and it makes me want to shoot it up higher. Not like top 25, maybe not even top 40 high, but like probably cracking my top 50 when I work on my list, which I'm kind of working on. And you are all right, Adriel. It is easier to do this shit alone, fam. I had to find that out the hard way. Because what happens is it, because when you have a panel of people, oh no, it's gonna take some weeks because y'all gonna be arguing for weeks, especially when the quality is there.
Right. Well,
me and Mike have arguments that have lasted for years.
Absolutely. Like me and Sean, we build every day. We chop it up on some level every day, right? And we both, really like Brunch on Sundays. There's nothing against it, but you got to look at what's in front of it. But just to give you insight of how the list went down, the idea came about, and you got to have a baseline, right? So I did the rough draft by myself, but I wanted to be properly audited. So I sent it out to the homies Trife and Sean, and then my man Trife, shout out to you. Trife said, "Yo, I'm only messing with the top 40." He was like, "I'm only, he said, I'm not even looking at yours. I'm just coming with my top 40, and then that's it." And then he submitted me his, and it was roughly the same songs, pretty much, but just slightly different orders. So I knew we was on the right track with that. And then Sean, submitted back a list, and and then I had to make edits and then come back to it. And he's like, "Yo, fam, like, this ain't high enough, or this one's too low, or what have you." And he could speak to that some, but we went through about 3 or 4 editing processes, and then we took it through, the gauntlet. Like, if we had a discrepancy on a song, we compared it head to head with the like about 3 to 5 songs behind it and 3 to 5 songs in front of it. And if one kept moving up, if it got to a point
Okay.
where it ran into a roadblock, then that's where it landed. So I'm talking way too much. So I'll let Sean, talk a little bit
Nah,
to that.
They're
when you
commenting on your
heard,
sneaker collection, Sean. They say your sneaker collection's insane, man.
no doubt, appreciate it, no doubt. Um, nah, Adriel, AG, you cooking. I didn't want to step on that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Adriel and I, we have two totally different views on the entire catalog. No different than, Mike, you and Coop. You guys' contrast is what make you guys special in your space. And what we had to do was understand, how can I respect his thought process around the ranking, and how can you respect mine? Because Adriel is from, he's from a different era, a different area than I am. I'm from the city. I'm from Yiddy, right? So some songs and some things may resonate with me in a different aspect than it may do with him. So that contrast allowed us to have these debates as we were talking about ranking these songs. And like you mentioned, it's not that we did not like brunch on Sundays. It was just like, yo, what does the people say about brunch on Sundays? Because if we take away our own opinion about it, because we didn't want to make this so fixated on our opinion. You know what I mean? If it's our opinion, songs that you guys may not hold at all, we may hold in a high regard because they hit us a different way. Music is subjective. So it depends on how it feels, right? Pause. And we wanted to make sure that we ranked them. Had to throw that out there. That sound crazy, but we want to make sure that everything that we were putting out there, it made sense for the collective. But also we wanted to have these kind of discussions and talk about the greatness of the run, but also categorize it in the sense of, we can change this list tomorrow. By Friday, we can have a whole different ranking outside the store run. We can have a whole different ranking. And brunch on Sunday is one of those that can go up or down. It depends on the time of the month. It depends on the time of the year. Right now, we're in the winter, right? Brunch on Sundays may not work in the winter. It may work a little bit better in the springtime. So it's a vibration. When you're doing it, you're feeling the vibration at that time.
Did Coop have any kind of influence on you guys having Death Row East ranked so high?
Yes, 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 and
Yeah,
yes. Yes, yes.
but it's
Coop is my
one of
man.
them ones though.
Yes.
Cooper's not
That
wrong.
that was a salute to Coop, because I don't hold Death Row East that high myself. You know what I mean? I have different feeling on Death Row East, a personal feeling on Death Row East. So I'm not going to get into that here. But yeah, that was more of an ode to to Coop. That had nothing to do with nothing. That was like, I said, yo, we got to put this here just because of Coop. You know what I mean?
And let me show people
Nothing
how
more.
high it is. Death Row
Right.
East is where?
It's like
Oh,
16.
it's actually 16.
16.
I thought it
Yes.
was
Yeah.
higher. I thought it was
Yes.
higher.
That was,
No,
trust
I
me,
mean,
Mike. That was all. That was all for Coop. Pause. That had nothing to do with nothing.
Listen, I thought
look,
Cooper would be
look,
ready to fight me to slow it down was number 9, because Cooper out here like,
I
yo, that's the
was.
best one.
Right.
First of all, we haven't gotten to that portion of the fight. We are about to fight about that.
Oh,
But
excuse me. Let's proceed. Let's proceed.
yeah, okay. So here was my next thing.
Mhm.
And this is where I think I brought up the whole like sliding some stuff around. You're 41, you're 45 to 41. I have all of those records much higher than 45 to 41. And let me read it out. Spicy, The Pressure, Motion, Get Light, and Ultra Black. That's your 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. I'm gonna tell you what. I went back and listened to Spicy the other day, guys. I might have to bump Spicy up into some top 25 contention. Like, I look at degree of difficulty of stuff when I'm choosing and making lists like this too, and it's just like that record I think has gotten lost in the greatness of the quality album runs, because that's one of the biggest bangers of this whole run. Spicy is a banger. Like, you
It
play
is.
that shit now, and I cut it on, I'm thinking like, this is one of Hit-Boy's best beats from this run. It really, really is.
Mhm.
It is. My rebuttal to that, is not really an argument. It's just a matter of preference. Like, I think that's where most of the argument came in, was around that 40 spot, like what cracks the top 40 or what's top 40 worthy, right? And Spicy was right on the cusp, but um, it was just one of those things where, you just look at how the record came about. Like, Hit said that he had to fight for that record to make it on the album, because that's why it's a bonus track, because Nas didn't even want to put it on the album. And
Mm.
granted, it was a degree of difficulty, and it sounds dope to hear, Nas over that style of production. And Fabio and ASAP Ferg both brought something to the track, but I don't think that it's moving in front of the other ones that's higher up. But for me, it was me and Sean had this conversation, because nobody is obviously the standout feature with Lauren, right?
Yeah.
But we had the discussion: is it top 10 worthy? Because everybody loves that track because of what Lauren's doing, and that's not to take nothing away from Nas, right? The production is good. What Nas is doing is pretty much like a setup for Lauren, and when Lauren comes through and smokes it. But if I'm doing a list that I want to put out there, I want the top 10 to look like it's based on the merit of what Nas is doing on the mic versus a feature.
Okay.
You, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So that was the thought process behind that.
That's fair.
So
Sales.
it
Oh,
is.
go ahead.
Real quick, we'll get to sales in a second. You have the pressure at 42. I think the pressure is the second best intro of this whole run, next to Speechless. And so I was surprised that it was at 42, just because I mean, I believe Speechless is one of those records that when you hear it, it's like, that's probably top 10 from this run. So I'm not surprised about it not being as high as Speechless, but I do feel like it's the second best intro outside of Speechless as far as like an actual intro song. And so explain to me how you had the pressure at 42. Like, how about this? The pressure to me is better than most of the stuff. The pressure to me is better than everything that's on your 31 through 40, except for WTF SMH and Pistols on your album cover. So I probably would have had it not at 42, but probably closer to 32, 33, splitting hairs, kind of,
I don't consider it better than Fever. I think Fever is
Okay.
probably my second favorite intro from the run. But
Okay.
you can actually thank Sean that the pressure made it to where it was, because I actually had it further back, if I'm being totally honest. Sean fought for
Whoa.
that one to get to, at that 42 spot.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
tough one. That was
the
that was a
pressure
tough
is
argument.
fire.
It is. I hold the
It
pressure
is.
as a near and dear to my heart. So we went back and forth on that one for a couple of days actually.
It's amazing that
Okay.
we're able to even have this debate to this level. Like, I'm in awe in the fact that these guys made 6 albums in 3 years, where we're able to actually
It,
rank
it's
80
crazy.
records off of it. It's crazy.
And this is
It's never
not
been
even
seen
counting
before.
the Lucy's, like, Big Nas,
Yeah,
the original EPMD off Judas and Black Messiah. Then he had the Tide with Hit-Boy, and then the remake of Life is Like a Dice Game. That's not even counting those Lucy's, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Salesman
So
Should have
Fly
been
with a
an
super
85
chat.
piece.
Shout out to him with the beats and everything too. We got your beat sales. It's fire. I think.
his B tape is fire.
Yeah. They
Y'all
It
said,
check it
is.
peace,
out for
brother.
real.
Which album is each of you guys' favorite from the run? And do you want a Primo album next, or an album with a mixture of producers? I'm going KD3. That's mine.
Yeah, that's my favorite too.
KD1 is my personal favorite.
Mm. So
Magic 3
Just
over here.
because.
Magic 3 over there. And as far as the Primo album, I respectfully don't want it, because I think it's a
I'm good
trap.
on that.
It's a
Yeah,
trap, man, because it's never going to
it
be good
is.
enough. And we're going to talk
I,
about
I
that when we come to this Benny
I
album.
hope he does it just so fans can leave him alone about it.
No,
That's what.
Nah, I'm
I'm
good.
I'm gonna have to go with Sean and Mike on that, Adriel. I'm good on that because if you don't make New York State of Mind and Nas is like in memory lane and represent and I gave you power, neither one of them is never going to hear the end of it. I very much liken it to when Dr. Dre and Rakim were supposed to get together to make Oh My God. Unless
Facts.
it's like the best rap album ever, people are never going to be satisfied with it. And I don't want it for either one of their legacies. And here's also the reality of the matter. Every time, like all these people, they keep saying that they want Preem to do stuff with certain people. Like I need them to support Preem shit when he's actually dropping some shit to actually
Facts.
like show that love is real, because everybody says they want Preem to like work with quote unquote these classic GOAT MCs that we have, but every time he does, they do nothing.
It's
And I'm
cricket.
sick of
Nothing.
that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Like, do you remember what was that?
Yeah,
Remember the shit Mass Appeal put out
Mm-hmm.
that had the
Yep.
Primo
yeah.
record on it?
People didn't rock with it.
No,
Yeah,
no support.
beat
People didn't
breaks.
rock with it.
Yeah, beat
No
break.
Yeah, the
support.
beat
Right.
break.
And it was
Yeah.
dope. Humble
It
Bragger
was
with the
dope.
super
Yeah, and
chat
nobody said a
says,
word.
said the 6 albums have so much versatility and content, yet it's not appreciated by the hip hop, I guess hip hop masses. But it's the reason why Benny shit sounds weak in comparison. We're gonna get into the album. I thought,
I'm not gonna
oh,
slander Benny when we're talking about Nas, but you know what I'm
now,
saying.
what did y'all think of the Benny album? Because me and Cooper actually
Right.
about to get into that in a second. What did y'all think about the Benny album?
I did for all the hype. I thought it was underwhelming for the first 2 listens, but
Hmm.
from the third listen on, I probably listened to it 10 times now. I like it more and more each listen because I'm just listening to it for what it is and appreciating it and eliminating all the hype from it. Right. Um, I don't know if Sean has those same sentiments, but I like the album. It's not burden of proof for me. That's my favorite Benny album, but I
Mm.
still really enjoy this
Oh.
album now.
Look, it's a good album. That's all we can ask for, right? I think we got to get the mindset that everything is going to be a home run hit. It's okay to have a good album. It's okay to have a solid album. I think it's a solid output. Yeah, we would want more because it's a Def Jam release. It's Benny. We know what Benny can do. We know what Benny is about. Benny showed flashes of greatness. But it's difficult to have an entire great record and consider it to be a classic out the gate, because right now we're starving for a classic album. We want to call everything classic, and it's okay to call things good. It's okay to say, yo, this is a really solid record, and let's rock with it and let it give a chance to mature a little bit. It hasn't matured yet, right? Because we're still trying to figure it out. I think he dropped about 3 singles, and those 3 singles are sequenced on this album the way it's sequenced. And I think the homie E, shout out to Ease, he gave a phenomenal recap on the album himself, and he pointed out those things. So I think it's time we should just let albums like this mature before we jump out the window and say it wasn't great or was just bad or whatever the case may be. Let's give it a chance to mature.
I can
I
agree with
will
that.
tell you real quick. I will tell you real quick, Adriel. I think it's better than Burden of Proof, and it's
I do
not,
too.
Mm,
and it's not, and it's not even close for me. Actually, I think Burden of Proof was wildly inconsistent, and I find just the production on this album to be superior to Burden of Proof. Like for me, the only records from Burden of Proof that would have made this project are One Way Flight, Sly Green, and Warpaint. None of
mm-hmm.
those other records on board, Burden of Proof to me, are good enough to make this album. And so I think highly of the album. I don't think it's a classic. But I mean, we'll share our thoughts in a minute. Hopefully you guys will stay tuned in. But I took notes like literally song by song about the production and about the rhymes and about the concepts, just because I feel like the album is receiving some unnecessary vitriol.
Lex Diesel with the super chat says Bakeem Woodbine is criminally slept on. It's a banger, and his verse is tough on that record. Mad respect for tackling an impossible list, though. For sure, I love Bakeem Woodbine too.
So,
I think that's a dope record. And again, I think it's one of those records, and same way I feel about Get Light. It's the kind of record that Nas wouldn't have been able to make 15, 20 years ago as comfortably as
Facts.
he's able to make now. And it's very impressive in that standpoint.
and shout out to
Facts.
Coop for that. Like he said, that category degree of difficulty, because I'll be honest, that's not something we really took into account. We took into account a lot of different things, but degree of difficulty to pull off certain records is not something that, really came up often in discussions, if I'm being honest. But that's part of, your rubric that might, really shape your list different from ours. So, I respect that. Um, and if y'all got a minute, speaking of rubric, um, can I like get on some nerd stuff real quick? Because I did something after the fact just to kind of audit myself and Sean and what we did on the list, and it made me feel more comfortable about how the list panned out.
Yeah, go for it real quick.
Run it.
Okay. So, shout out to Mad Max. He's frequent in the chat, always dropping stuff. One of the things he said was, before Coop shaking his head, one of the things he said was it would be the best way to proceed with something like this is to rank the songs on each individual album first and then try to combine them together. That's actually what I did before I did the rough draft. So before I even submitted it to Sean or nothing or anybody else, I ranked the songs on the album myself first and then put them in, whatever order together. So that's one thing we did do. Secondly, the Aristotle quote, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? Somebody put it on Twitter. I would say who it was if I remember, but I don't recall. They were talking about like the Magic 3 songs were rated criminally low, and I got to thinking on it, and I was like, well, maybe it's one of those situations where you bust Magic 3 down into individual songs. They may not place as higher, but when they come together as a whole cohesive project, then we got something special. It's arguably the best of the run. So that's one of the things where, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But to audit myself, what I did, and this is like really on some nerd stuff, man. Like I told Sean this, he just shook his head, right? So how good are y'all at math?
Great.
I mean, I was about to say,
Okay,
you want to know the truth? I got a 97 in calculus, so math is
all right, bet. All right, bet. So this is going, this is going to be right down in your wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? So what I did to audit myself, I came up with like a little equation to kind of see how this all panned out, if I was bugging or what, you know what I'm saying? So what I did was I took the score of each song on the list, well, not the score, but where it landed, the placement. If it was 75, I took 75. If the next song on a particular album was 67, then I took 67. If the next song on a particular album was 52, I took 52, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I add all those numbers up to get an aggregate score, right? And then with that aggregate score, divided that by the number of tracks that was on that particular album to make it fairly dispersed. So if it was 15 tracks on the album, I took the aggregate score and divided it by 15, right? And it was pretty fascinating the results that came out. So, and this is considering the space. So based on the results I got, the best placement was Magic. So what that tells Magic 1. So what that tells me for 9 tracks, even though you may not have it as the best album of the run, it's the most concise and most potent for what it's offering.
So it's kind of like a PPR, right?
so
correct. There you go.
Right.
So Magic.
So that's some business.
Magic.
That's,
huh?
Go ahead, Adriel. No, talk.
Well, I was just saying that had the best because it's only 9 tracks, but it's that uncut raw potent within those 9 tracks. So that had the best score. Second best score was KD3. Third best was Magic 3. Fourth best was KD2. Fifth best was KD1. And sixth best or last was Magic 2.
I'm not mad at that.
So can we pause for a second?
Absolutely.
I think that's how most people have this series ranked. And a lot
Right.
of people, like I think that's a very on the bell-shaped curve, I think the curve kind of moves evenly towards to what the populace has to say, because that kind of echoes some of my sentiments. Because the first thing that I noticed about your list was that, well, you understand 6 of your top 20 songs came off of Magic,
right? But it's that potent though. But who's to say if it had more tracks, then it wouldn't shift, in the other direction.
Well, I love what you said about Magic 3, because when people ask me what my favorite album is, I say Magic 3, because it's the one that plays most like a cinematic album to me. I didn't say it had the best songs on there. The songs on Magic and on KD3, and even for moments on KD2 and KD1 are more spectacular to me. But when people
Like
ask
you
me
say,
what
the
my
end to
favorite
end.
album is, it's like, no, that's the one that I'll put in and play in sequence because of how the
You
album
call it the end
plays
to end player.
and
The end to
feels.
end player.
It's the end-to-end player that connects all the dots. There's a progression that's going on with the album that's intentional. And so I think
Right.
some people are saying like, oh, well, that's just recency bias, Coop. And it's like, no, you asked me what the best album was. You didn't ask me which album had the best songs. You didn't ask me which album had the most high moments. That would be KD3 or Magic. You asked me what the best album was. That's Magic
Yeah.
3 to me.
Christopher
And
Hogan with
just
the
for
super chat. He says, beats rhymes good on Benny's album. Hooks are weak. Yeah, we
I
got to get
disagree.
into this Benny thing real in a second. I'll let you guys,
but just for
yeah, we got to get to this review because y'all are talking way crazy about this.
no doubt. But just
Crazy.
for context, real quick, just for those numbers, the average score of Magic songs was 28. The average score for KD3 was 36. The average score for Magic 3 was 39. The average score for KD2 was 41. The average score for KD1 was 44. And the average score for Magic 2 was 56. So, a few of those in the middle is like splitting hairs. So, that was me in my nerd bag and, doing some math stuff to,
Nah, that's
to,
really
to just
dope.
audit myself.
I love it.
But
That's
yeah,
more
man, I don't
business
want to rush you
statistics and
guys
accurate
off,
stuff.
man. I know we got a whole
Yeah.
lot to get to. We could talk about this
Indeed.
for days and days.
Well, hold on. No,
Indeed.
Mike.
Good.
I'm not letting them off the hook so easy before we get into this top 20
Okay.
right quick. I don't want to let them off the hook. First of all, I want to let everybody know who this is. Both Adriel and Sean have been followers and purveyors of this show for a while, and I appreciate y'all's love and support.
Yes, sir.
First of all,
No doubt.
these guys
Appreciate
do
y'all.
hip hop talks on Station Head. Sean and I have a North and South matchup coming. And it's not really a matchup, it's more a curation of breaking down. Because when Sean and I talk, I think we're kind of like minds in terms of what we like. But I think our rationale is different about what we like, and it has a lot to do with where we come from. You're from Corona, Queens. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and raised in Atlanta. And so we kind of meet in the middle. And so we're coming up with the curation style thing that we're going to do on Hip Hop Talks on Station Head to kind of show like stylistically where we meet in the middle, but where we defer. Is that an accurate assessment of what we're putting together, Sean?
Very accurate. Absolutely. Very accurate.
Okay,
Yes,
so that's coming soon. So I want people to, follow Hip Hop Talks and stay tuned for that curation ceremony that we're going to be doing. Sean and I have actually been talking about this like literally for months now, and we're about to bring it to fruition. I'm super excited about it. It kind of started out as a North versus South thing, but then the dialogue between us became as such. It's like, well, it's really not a versus thing. It's a style and selection type of thing. And then it's kind of like we started looking at it like you're going through an art gallery and curating different pieces,
Absolutely.
and curating different moments in time. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like going through Picasso's different periods. We're going through different periods from different regions and doing a curation of it so that the culture has a better understanding. Me being a Southerner, him being a Northerner, and us both having experiences being in different climates. Because of the lifestyles that we've led, I'd like to think me and Sean are pretty cultured, probably in our circles from where we come from. A lot of the people that we grew up with and around haven't seen the things that we've seen. And so I'm excited to do that. But before we get you guys out of here, y'all got to slow it down at number 9. And I think that's wild, but let me plead my case right quick. First of all, I appreciate y'all putting Death Row East in the top 20. It's borderline top 10, but that's neither here nor there. When he says Nas is like the Nazca lines can only be seen from up high, I mean, most people don't even know what the Nazca lines are, so you have to understand that it's like, for me, that's one of those breathtaking moments where I'm like, he's operating on a plane with his thought process where he literally does have to slow it down. if I have to slow it down, I won't laugh at you. And it's like, no, when he's just from the first bar, I was like, that was it for me, because the name of the record was Slow It Down. And it's like, fam, you got to slow it down after the first bar, because most people don't
Him
know
and
what the Nazca lines are.
him,
Facts.
You know what
Prodigy,
I'm
and
saying?
Rakim are the kings of the first bars, man. Them three.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And so I'm just encapsulated by the song. But part of why I have it so high is because for me, like that record, how about this? The first verse to me, that's like classic Nas, like above your head, but still easy to understand overall. But the second verse, that's some Biggie shit to me. Like the way that he switches speeds on his flow and the way that he toggles through the subject matter. Like for me, when Big was here, Big was the best at toggling through subject matter. Like on the Get Money remix when he's like, guns, I bust them. Problems with my wife, don't discuss them. Coops and Lear jets, I lust them. Fingerprints, I dust them. Like that's what he's doing on this record at the end. When he says, I might be moving at light speed. To do what I do is unlikely. This new mink
Yeah,
on me pricey. I might
yeah.
perm up my shit like I'm iced tea. American pimp, I'm on timing. The only thing that I pimp is this rhyming. Like when he does that, I'm like, that's that Biggie shit. Like that's so
Effortless.
hard. People don't understand unless you've MC'd. The hardest thing to do is to toggle through subject matter from bar to bar, but have it connect, but have people understand, so you don't have to do what? Slow it down. And
Slow it
that's
down.
why
Yeah.
I have Slow It Down so high,
No
and
doubt.
that's why it would probably be my number 2 on here. But I agree with everything on your top 10, except for I would probably slide Blue Benz out. So what do you have to say to that?
I'm gonna just rebuttal that real quick, and then Sean can have it because I'm talking way too much. But my thing with Blue Benz, and like I said, Sean, fought hard for KD1, but we got to remember before this run even started, Hit-Boy previewed Blue Benz in a beat battle against Boy Wonder on IG Live,
Mm.
right?
Hold
And
on.
then
You're probably answering Brian's super chat now. He said, "Can we get an explanation for Blue Benz's placement?" So you're doing that now.
right. So before this run even started, I know a lot of folks were skeptical of the run with Hit Boy, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not the run, but hearing
The
rumors
pairing.
that Nas was going to do a run with Hit Boy and do an
Hmm.
album with Hit Boy, and then he did that beat battle on IG Live and preview Blue Benz, and I was like, yo, if that's the direction the album is going in, it's going to be crazy. And I'm 100% invested. And then when the album and the song came out, as soon as the song came on, I immediately recognized it. And I felt like it was a moment, that created a moment because I could reference it back to him previewing it, right? So Slow It Down is everything that Coop said, but what did the moment create? And for me, I think Blue Benz was a moment. And Sean, if you want to
Okay.
add to that.
Yeah, I'll say this so you guys can get on with the show. Blue Benz, non-debate, right? It covers everything, lyrics, and you got a story within that lyric, right? You got a
Okay.
story about the Blue Benz and Shorty driving the Blue Benz. What more do you want from Nas? He's giving you a high clip story, and he's giving you the entendres. Everything, and the beat is what people talk about a lot as well. And how that beat bang on Blue Benz. It checks all the boxes. And that's why KD1 holds near and dear to my heart, because it came off the heels of Nasir. And we thought that when we first heard Hit Boy and Nas linking up, we were like, what kind of parent is that? What's that? What's son doing with that? And then here we come with KD1. And here comes everything that comes after that. So that's where I'm at with Blue Benz.
PJ has a
And
question for you guys also. He wants to know what's your favorite verse from the whole series.
That's
man, that's tough. That's
that's
a conversation for another day. I
Yeah.
wish what's crazy off the top of my head right now, that's this is not my favorite, but it's just what I'm living with now is sitting with my thoughts, the second verse. But
yeah.
I've been a super fan of Recession Proof. The way he's floating on Recession Proof is insane. And I think I told Sean this too. Michael and Quincy, that second verse where he goes off, like that could have been number one. To Sean's point, these could change position at any time. Pause, but Michael and Quincy, if an alien came down and is like, yo, I heard about this Nas and Hit-Boy run, you know what I'm saying? Let me hear one song to let me judge how it was. I might would play him Michael and Quincy for real, because that encompasses everything this run was, from Nas spazzing on the mic and Hit-Boy spazzing on the beat. We get about 3 beat changes in there. And another thing that we took into consideration was live performance. 30, when I wasn't fortunate enough to be at the Garden that night, but from what I seen on YouTube, it was palpable from the TV. Like, it was ringing off, you know what I'm saying, almost as much as Made You Look or something like that. And that factored into Blue Benz as well, because Blue Benz is a staple that he performs a lot, and it's one of them ones. So a lot of different factors came into play when we was deciding these. So, you know, I appreciate y'all letting us shed light on that, for real.
For sure, man.
So real quick before y'all go, I was in the Garden. Nothing rang out like 30 that night. Like, I was a fan of 30 before, but it became top 10 after I was in the Garden. I wasn't as big a fan of Blue Benz as everybody else, but the reaction of the crowd when he played Blue Benz in the Garden made me feel like I had missed something. I was like, hold on.
There you go.
I was like,
there you go. Yeah.
I was like, I need to check myself, because it's like, it still probably wouldn't make my top 10. It would be in my top 20, probably top 15. But when I saw people responding to Blue Benz the way that they did, I was like, oh, I missed that. I was too busy playing 27 Summers and Spicy. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the thing. And last thing is, I love that y'all put Legit in the top 10.
You gotta be there.
I love Legit.
It's a moment.
Legit is crazy.
It is.
Yeah, Legit is a moment.
I mean, I think it's one of the most creative samples of that year. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is. It was the most creative sample that year. And if I was picking a verse, you know what stays with me? Like, just the first verse on Ugly, for some reason, has always stayed with me. Like, on a personal level. Yeah. Like sometimes I just get up and I want to hear Ugly, like, just to hear him rap. Like, for me, that's the guy. That's the guy that everybody thought was, like, to me on that record, he sounds like the guy that when he was younger, people said was going to be the greatest MC ever. Like, to hear that guy resurface on Magic, because that's the guy on Ugly to me. It's like I tell people, Ugly to me is like the modern day do-rags. Y'all remember do-rags, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
To me, that's what Ugly is. Ugly is the modern day do-rags. It's that record where it's like, well, nobody's really going to give you that record in this space but him.
I like that comparison.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all coming on. Everybody in the chat, make sure y'all follow Hip Hop Talks on Station Head. Sean, I'm probably gonna be hitting you up tomorrow so we can put this whole math together and make the equation. You know,
for sure.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, Adriel.
Yeah,
appreciate
Mike,
y'all, man. Thanks for having us
all day, man. Appreciate y'all support throughout this whole thing.
Sir.
All right, see y'all next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace, fellas.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
And now it's just me on screen. There we go. Nah, man, that was awesome. Shout out to them, man. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all follow Hip Hop Talks on Station Head. Do they have like a YouTube thing going on as well, or how to get to YouTube?
Not yet.
Yeah, but it's coming. It's coming. Brian with the super chat says, "My bad. I was thinking of Blue Bentley. Blue Benz is top 10 for me as well." Okay. But that, we got to get that one on next time. Yeah, salute to Hip Hop Talks, man. That was awesome. And the fact that they were able to do that top 80, like, man, that's an impossible list to put together. It's impressive on every front. The fact that Hit-Boy and Nas were able to do this, and the fact that Hip Hop Talks was able to put together this list is amazing. But speaking of Hit-Boy,
shout out to them.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Hit-Boy putting together albums, Benny the Butcher just dropped his Everybody Can't Go album Friday. And it was half produced. I won't say half, but it was produced by Hit-Boy and The Alchemist. Now,
I mean, it's more like 65-35 or 60-40.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Actually, I know exactly how many beats that they did because I put it in my notes. Because
and Coop has hella notes, I'm sure. This is a
5 by Alchemist, 7 by Hit-Boy, 12 altogether.
Okay. So yeah, it's more of a 60-40, if you will, almost. Something like that. Okay. Right. First things first, when I heard the album initially, I liked it. You know what I'm saying? And the second time I listened to it, I liked it even more. Um, I don't know where some of these reviews are coming from, when it comes to this album, because this is what you call mixed reviews, right? You got some people who are saying it's super dope, and some people that are saying it was weak. I mean, I'm seeing that in the chat. That people are saying that the album's weak, and I don't really know where we're getting that from. I have a few theories here and there, but one of my theories, off top, well, I'm gonna go with two. First things first, I think the pushing back of the album and the anticipation of the album and the DMX statement might have some people feeling that way. The second thing is, I think that the way that the singles were released,
I'm
um,
listening.
I think that the way that the singles were released made people feel a way about the album altogether. Because when I listen to the album today, from beginning to end, and I'm hearing Big Dog for what it is, and not as like a single, but just an album that's in the song, I'm like, oh, this song is hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And I think
yes.
that in the times that we live in, and I know that Griselda is, they're one of the big proponents of this, giving their audience a massive amount of music. I think once you try to slow down that, it kind of takes away from the songs that you're having on the album because people have heard them for weeks and months now. So I think maybe that's some of the effect that we're getting. But I was listening to the album today. I'm like, I didn't get to a song that I thought that was skip worthy until the record with Jada, and I think that's a dope record.
First of all, what are you talking about? Pillow Talk and Slander?
Yeah,
That record dope. First of
I
all,
like it too. You know what I mean? But I think the production on that song is a little bit less. It's not as it's not as big and grandioso as the other records. Because look, we're looking at Jermaine's Graduation, fire. Braun, fire. Big Dog, fire. Everybody Can Go, fire. I like that record too. TMVTL, dope. I love the record with Snoop, Back Again. I think that should have been the single, really, if we're going to be perfectly honest. Buffalo Kitchen Club, that's hard. Amani Caesar killed that. And then, yeah, getting the Pillow Talk and Slander. And I think that record is dope, but that would be the first one that I would possibly skip, if that makes any sense. And even after that,
so
How to Rap, fire. Like,
so I think a couple things are at play right now.
okay.
Um, the first thing that I think is that when you compare your Def Jam debut to It's Dark and Hell is Hot, you're only setting yourself up for a disservice to be done. Because just quite frankly, Mike, I'm Mike, at this stage in the game, I don't even know if there's been 15 albums made in the history of rap better than It's Dark and Hell is Hot.
No.
You know?
I mean, it would be
It's
hard
definitely
pressed,
not
but
20. There aren't 20 there are not 20 rap albums better than It's Dark and Hell is Hot in the history of rap.
huh.
And so, yeah, not 20. They're not
That's an
you
interesting
cannot list.
statement.
No, you can't list 20 albums better than It's Dark and Hell is Hot. Cuz when you start measuring the impact and the importance and the timing of it,
Yeah.
then get to the actual quality and then listen to the actual classic nature of the singles and then the classic natures of the songs on the album that aren't singles, there's not 20 albums better. I don't think that there's 15 at this stage because it's one of those albums that the older that it gets, the more astonished I am at the fact that he did it and went like quadruple platinum while doing it on top of that, Mike.
On his terms.
Without even getting into the record sales, Mike, think about it.
Yeah.
It did Doggy Style type numbers, and it's definitely not easy to digest like Doggy Style.
No, that's a
You
fair
know what
point.
I mean?
Yeah.
So degree of difficulty extremely high in terms of time and all that. And so when you compare and your album to truly one of rap's all-time great rap albums and classics, and your album isn't that, I think people are going to backlash harder. But Mike, I do think there is some KD treatment going on where it's like, well, KD oftentimes doesn't get the props that LeBron and Steph get, and it has nothing to do with rings. It has to do with how he's treated the media. And I think the way Benny has talked at times to the fans and about the fans, I do think there's some sincere backlash going on because of it. And I think some of the people that were invested in his comeuppance would rather see him lose than win at this point based on the statements that he's made. Like,
You think that? Hold on, let me get
yeah,
to the super chat.
somebody pulled up on me today, Mike, and was like, "Oh, are you rating him like that, Coop, because you met him?" And I'm thinking to myself, when the hell have I ever done that? But that's the type of, I feel like, fire he's ignited with some of his commentary. And that has nothing to do with the music. It's about the music.
Dot with the super chat says Benny is one dimensional and it shows in this album. See, I didn't get that. You know what I mean? And what I got,
That's wrong.
and if you guys want to talk about subject matter, sure. But the versatility from, the flow and being able to take on different styles of production. I mean, that's why I like the song with Snoop so much. But what I think has happened here is I think that Griselda sound has been so embedded in their fan base that I don't think that their fans want to allow them to do anything outside of that, no matter how good it sounds.
I agree with that, Mike. So I'm going to kind of work in reverse before I start breaking down these records. I realized today, really, while the album, I realized it the night that I met him. But after listening to the album, and then seeing how people were responding, I was like, oh no, everybody can't go. Because here's the thing about it. He veered off from the quote unquote traditional Griselda sound, Mike, but he didn't veer too far off. And the way people are responding is if he just left the reservation and left the core fan base stranded, Mike, that's just some bullshit. And quite frankly, it's like one of those things where it's like, I think people who watch this show know I don't struggle with my confidence, Mike. But I confidently say that part of what makes me, I feel like, the best reviewer in this space is because I don't literally listen to what anybody has to say without a valid argument and explanation. And I don't hear valid arguments and explanations for the vitriol and for the lackluster response, Mike. And I'm not saying that it's in this vein of caliber album, Mike, but I felt like today, in the last couple of days, I was like, yeah, this is when niggas tried to tell me It Was Written was just okay. And It Was Written was just a good rap album. I remember that, Mike. I'm going to remember those conversations to the day I die. Niggas was walking around acting like It Was Written was just a good regular rap album. It's like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, it's good. It's like, what the fuck are you listening to? Like, and I bring up It Was Written because that was the album that taught me to double down on what I heard and not what I hear people say. And so I'm not listening to what people have to say about this project because I think much like It Was Written, the legend of the album is going to grow with time. Like when Sean said this album needs to mature, I couldn't express or echo that sentiment enough because not saying It Was Written because it's not, but it's the type of vibe about the response that I'm getting where it's like, you understand how hard it is to put together a rap album that like literally barely has any skips and really, in my opinion, doesn't have a skip at all till Griselda Express, in my opinion, which I'm going to talk about because that should have been one of the highlights of the album. And I think it actually might be the low light of the album. And we can get into that.
Yeah. I agree with that. Now that I agree with, like I said, the first song that I would say I may skip was the one with Jada, but that song's better than the Griselda song.
Yeah, the weakest song on here is Griselda Express, in my opinion. But I say this,
I don't know what to really say about that because that's usually the strong moment in their album.
Usually the strong moment.
But again, I think that's attributed to the fact that it sounds like he wanted to get away from that core sound. And so in the midst of getting away from that core sound, when it's time to do a record with the core guys, it probably didn't sound as effortless as it normally does.
Well, here's the reality of the matter, Mike. Part of the reason why he's trying to get away from the core sound is because they only have one gold plaque to show for this brilliant run of music that they've made. And that's sad to me. And
well, so even outside of that, though, Coop, because everybody says they're one-dimensional, and you know what I'm saying, everything sounds the same. So it's like, the whole thing was to get out of that sound anyway.
Mike, everybody that's saying that doesn't listen to Conway the Machine.
Yeah.
Okay. Like everybody that's saying that hasn't been paying attention to Conway for like literally the last 4 years when they're saying that all those guys are one-dimensional. Conway is super versatile. Conway is actually one of our more versatile songwriters that we have in this space right now, about his willingness to talk about everything. Like, I was listening to the Tear Gas song with him and Wayne and Rick Ross. He's literally talking about, when he's talking about and a nigga like Russell Wilson raising your child, real shit. I ain't seen my son in months. It's like, no, that's not shoot 'em up bang talk, Mike. That's that nigga not seeing his son and talking about how his baby mama's tripping and he don't see his son enough. Like, that's not boom, 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 boom. So the people that make these comments, I don't think they really, to quote Tribe Called Quest, Mike, I don't think they check the rhyme. But here's what I thought about today, Mike. I'm going to list some songs out for you. And I was never a fan of really these songs the way I was their core catalog, but I understand on a day like today why they made these songs, Mike. Listen to the records I'm about to list off to you. Hate Me Now. The City Is Mine. You Owe Me. Sunshine. If I Ruled the World. Hard Knock Life. Street Dreams. Big Pimpin'. Dr. Knockboot. Who You With. You want to know what, Mike? On a day like today, I never loved any of these records like that, except for maybe, If I Rule the World's probably my favorite record of those 10 that I just named, or Who You With by Jay. But I realized those guys made those records because your core fan base will have your ass barely going gold forever in New York. All right? And the fact that those guys made those records, I realize now they made those records because they just didn't want to go down as some traditional boom bap MCs. And I'm bringing up those records because Benny didn't go as far off the reservation as Nas and Jay did to get his notoriety or his fame right now. And so I'm really wondering what all the backlash is for. Because, Mike, we talking about our 1 and 2 MCs, right? However you want to mix and match it. No, they made these records. Do these records sound like New York State of Mind and Dead Presidents to you, Mike? Does that sound like The World Is Yours and the Evils to you, Mike? Does that sound like Can I Live and Represent?
They had to get on the radio, and they were obligated, through contractual obligations to sell records at those times, and they needed a record that was going to get on the radio to sell them their records.
And is Benny not signed to a major label now?
Yeah. I mean,
he signed to Def Jam, Mike. This is a Def Jam album. Mm-hmm. This isn't a fucking mixtape that's about to circulate around the tri-state area and get played in Buffalo. He's on Def Jam.
I understand both sides of it, and we just had this conversation.
I don't understand
talking about Big Crit. We were just talking about Big Crit, and it's the same label. And I think that there are some artists, and I think Benny, he's done his best to kind of work those both worlds. But there are some artists who have such a grassroots following that following doesn't want them to make the Def Jam album, if you will. And Big Crit is an example of that, which was 10 years ago, but it's the same thing. Now, granted, I do think that Benny's Def Jam debut was better than Big Crit's Def Jam debut, but I think it's the same concept. Let me get to these super chats real quick. Matt Max says, How to Rap and the Armani joint is the best 2 tracks to me, but the album is decent. He said, I don't see any great songs on the project, just decent or pretty good. That's big coming from Matt Max, actually. Hold on, Chris.
Coming from Matt Max.
You're right. Chris with the super chat says, it's a good album, Coop. Mike, my opinion is that the hook game could have been better. And guys, I really see that voice matters. That's hurting him. What do you think about that assessment?
I don't agree with that assessment at all. The hooks on this album are just fine. And so is his voice. What's wrong today, Mike, is the people who can't let go of Tana Talk 3 and Plugs I Met. Mike, I went and listened to Plugs I Met today, Mike. People talk about Daytona being short. Y'all understand Plugs I Met is only 6 songs and he only has 1 song by himself, Mike? It's not a mixtape. It's an EP.
Mm-hmm.
Stop talking about Plugs I Met like it's some sort of full-length player, Mike. He's got Conway on there. He's got Black Thought on there. He's got Pusha T on there. And it's only 6 fucking songs, Mike. He literally has 1 solo record on Plugs I Met, Mike. 1. So we have no idea based on Plugs I Met what his solo capability looks like, Mike. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when people are walking around talking this Plugs I Met shit, it's like, first of all, you're talking about an EP. You're not talking about an album or a mixtape. Get your shit together. And then the second part of it, Mike, it's about 19 minutes long, and about 8 minutes of that airtime is guest appearances. He's literally only rapping on there for about 10 minutes, Mike. That's 3 rap songs by yourself. So stop holding on. This is what I'm saying about how
That's why
people.
I didn't give it album of the year in that year when it was going up against Eve from Rhapsody and Born to Rap from the Game. So
You gave
because
it the Born to
those
Rap by the Game.
yeah.
Because those are full length players where those people are rapping like, more than 10 minutes, like within the first 3 or 4 songs on the album, Mike.
No.
And so what I'm saying is that people got the catalog fucked up, and a lot of this stuff that y'all are calling mixtapes from Benny aren't even mixtapes. Some of the stuff is albums. Like, I went and listened to Benny's whole catalog the last couple of days, Mike. The only album that he truly has that truly stands out as better than this is Tana Talk 3. If you think Tana Talk 4 is better, we could have an argument about it because it's got Johnny P's Caddy, it's got Super Plug, it's got Back 2 Times with Stove, it's got some stuff on there. It's got Tyson versus Ali with Conway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, it's got some shit on there, Mike. But unless you're talking about Tana Talk 3 or 4, don't come to me with this he didn't do a good job shit. And for the people that are saying that Burden of Proof is better, y'all are wild. The first single off Burden of Proof was Timeless. That shit is whack, Mike. I said it was whack when it came out, Mike. I listened to it today. It's still fucking whack.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, "What up, fellas? But in my opinion, Benny should have leaned more into the mainstream because people act like the point of the major is giving them the mixtape vibe. No, it's not. No,
So, hold on, Mike. I've never said this on the show before. I agree with Leroy 1000%. That's why I bought up those Jay and Nas records. For the way that motherfuckers are acting about this project, he should have just went ahead and went completely off the reservation and did his fucking thing. He had a record with Drake. I don't know what happened to the record. That shit should have been on here because the way people are talking about it. And stop asking this man to make Tana Talk 3. That shit is 6 years old, Mike.
that beat that or not beat, but that record that Hit-Boy was premiering like months ago, that wasn't on here. The one that Hit-Boy had on Twitter, that shit was hard. That
Mike,
wasn't on
there's
here.
hard shit on here. When people are talking about there's no great songs on here, Mike, what the fuck is Trust More Valuable Than Love with the Alchemist beat switch?
It's hard.
What the fuck would you call that? How often do you hear Benny tell a story with a great hook where the beat switches 3 times? I hear people talking about how Hit-Boy outperformed Alchemist. He did outperform Alchemist. Hit-Boy's the best hip-hop producer in the game right now. Stop making it seem like Alchemist did a bad job and these beats aren't good. All of you niggas, if you knew how to rap, would take these beats and rap over them. These beats are dope, Mike.
Shout out to Firebird Phoenix with the super chat. He knows how to rap. He got some dope shit out. He actually said he's coming to Atlanta in March and want us to be in the music video. So we're gonna coordinate that. Says decent. Braun is fire. Very got yourself a gunnish, but the album not close to Stillmatic. Talking level and impact, not comparing artists. Yeah, it's hard to match that kind of impact in today's climate, though. I think that
Stop comparing Benny to the greatest MC who ever lived.
That's high praise. High praise.
It's not what we're doing.
Andrew
That's why I said it gave. It's wild.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, "I appreciate y'all fellas for showing love to our platform and our list. Thank you for letting us break down the entire process. Salute all day, man." Appreciate y'all.
First of all, Mike, as far as beat selection, Mike, this is the best beat selection that he's picked from beginning to end on any album.
I felt that way too. I felt that way.
So people talking about how Alchemist just did okay. It's like, I'm sorry, like you just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Alchemist did a great job. Hit-Boy did a stellar job. Did they do a classic job? No, Mike. But Trust More Valuable Than Love, like that Alchemist beat switch on 3 different levels. With the hook, with the acronym, with the actual story behind it. How often does Benny even tell a story, Mike?
Right.
It's almost like it's not like he's telling some offbeat love story, Mike. He's still keeping it street. And I just wish he would have just went off the reservation for how people are behaving. Mike, the record with Armani, Mike, Buffalo Kitchen, that shit is hard. That hook is
really
stellar.
Alchemist right there.
That's Mike. That's Alchemist. And here's the thing about it. Benny and Armani have chemistry. I've been saying it since I heard Drillarama on the Liz. They need to do a project
They
together, Mike.
do.
When they get
I felt that
together,
way.
it's fire.
You know,
That song is
Armani's
fire.
flow is so understated. Armani's
It
tough,
is.
man. Yeah.
Like, how about this, Mike? Buffalo Kitchen gonna get played down here in some spots. I bet
Buffalo.
you it is.
Chris with the
Buffalo
super chat
Kitchen is
says,
hard.
Coop, voice does matter. I'm 50 years old, and you know the content I listen to. Rapping is good, but creatively, he's lacking here.
This is what I'm saying. Creatively, how many people are really diverse in this space, like you say? Like, if we're gonna have that conversation about diversity, it's like diversity doesn't equal good album. See Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yo, I talked to Ronve about this album. Ronve hit me or whatnot. Shout out to Ronve up top. He was like, he loved it. He said it was a really dope album. One of his critiques was the sequencing. And he said he wished that they would have actually did an outro as opposed to ending with Big Timers, because that Big Timers ending seemed kind of weird. I'm kind of with that.
So, Mike, so can I tell you that my biggest critique of this album is the sequencing? First of all, How to Rap should be the last song on this album.
I agree.
Quite frankly, not to be funny, I think Griselda Express hurt this album, and you could have just taken the song off altogether
I agree.
because the expectations are too high and they're too unrealistic. It's probably Benny's worst verse on the album. It's a less than stellar Conway verse for what we know him to be, because he is one of the best MCs of this era. And the West Side Gun hook is not that good. And that's probably the weakest Alchemist beat of the 5 that he gave. And so if there's a throwaway on this album, it's actually the Griselda record, which is wild. You'll never hear me say that again, probably.
Nicodemus with the super chat says Griselda Express is fire. Big Timers is weak.
It's not. It's the weakest song on the album, and I'm disappointed. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. Mike, but to bring up the sequencing, I think first of all, Stove sounds amazing on One Foot In, One Foot
He
Out when you
does.
listen to it again.
Stove is a star, man.
Stove is a star, like we've been saying, Mike. We've been saying literally since we heard Stove. It's like whoever that dude is, he's a star. Put him on, put him in the front. So
Kevin
once
Durant's
again,
been
Mike,
saying it too.
Kevin Durant said it because Kevin Durant follows according to hip hop. I said it first.
Right.
Ain't nobody trying to give Kevin Durant credit. You just
Shout out to
you just
Kevin
keep,
Durant for following and watching.
no. Kevin
We
Durant
love
need to
you.
keep Phoenix. He need to keep Phoenix in 5th place and the Clippers in 4th place so they can beat their ass in the first round. That's what Kevin Durant needs to do right now. But 1 foot in and 1 foot out, Mike, I feel like needs to go in the second slot before Braun on this album, and it needs to go Jermaine's Graduation, 1 foot in and 1 foot out, which I think is part of the theme of this album, as in 1 foot in my old sound, 1 foot out my old sound, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and then go into Braun and Big Dog. I think that's a better play. And then I think the Buffalo Kitchen record and Trust More Valuable Than Love need to be swapped out. Like Trust More Valuable Than Love is 5, Buffalo Kitchen is 8. Swap those records out, because Trust More Valuable Than Love, that type of story, that's got more of a, like, how about this, Mike? To go back to It Was Written. My favorite song on It Was Written is The Setup, but it's track number 9 on the album for a reason. You feel
Well,
me?
you kind of sound like Ronve again. Ronve also said this. He said this shit is like spades. You play to win. Get them aces and kings out there first and set the pace.
Yes, because I think Trust More Valuable Than Love has even more impact in the 8 slot than in the 5 slot, because what you expect from the 5 slot on an album is some cleanup. And so imagine if you move 1 foot in and 1 foot out up to number 2. That pushes Braun down to 3. That pushes Big Dog down to 4. And then that puts Everybody Can't Go down at 5. And I think that's more an accurate feel. And then you can get into the Back Again with Snoop. You feel what I'm saying? You see how you set it up like that? And then you can get into your pillow talk and slander and your Trust More Valuable Than Love.
I think
feel
the
like
beat for Pillow Talk and Slander could have been better. And maybe I'm feeling like that because the features that were on there and, you know, how well produced everything else is. the rhymes and everything are there, but I don't feel to the degree that I do about Griselda Express, but I think it's a similar thing where it's like these are two of the
That
weaker beats with all of these MCs on it.
so Alchemist had just an okay beat on here, and that would be Griselda Express. Hit-Boy had an okay beat on here. It's Pillow Talking Slander. Mike,
Mhm.
all the other beats are fire.
I
And you're
agree.
not about to tell me any
What about
fucking
Big
different.
Timer?
I like big timers, Mike. This is what I'm talking about. It's like, do you want this man to boom bap and push a brick like to the end? Like
Hmm.
to the end, Mike? You want him to
That's
boom
what
bap
we
and push a brick to the end? No, Mike. I want to hear Doe to get more
want.
shows to rip. I suggest you go and roll with the click. Who you with?
I mean, that's why
Frozen lips
personally
and
the
O's
record with
exist.
Snoop Dogg I love because that was something
Shit's
I
great.
never heard Benny do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're supposed.
And he
How about
sounded
this, Mike?
great doing it too, you know
How
what I mean?
many times? How many times have we applauded Nas and Jay for the chances that they take, Mike? It's like, oh, I wasn't expecting them to do that. Hey, like, thank you for giving me something different than your fastball. I know
Yeah.
what your fastball looks like. You throw 100 miles an hour. Do you have
I'm
a
an
curve?
outcast. I'm an
Do you
outcast
have a
tribe
changeup?
Ghostface fan, so I like people taking chances.
Right.
I
Hold on,
I
Mike.
like Electric Circus. I do. You know.
Well, you
I,
can stop that. But here's what I'm saying: like, you got to give people room to grow, and I think we've watched people specifically from the New York area try to contrive their favorite MCs at times. And I feel like his following is trying to contrive him right now. It's like, well, that's not what we want from you. And it's like, so what? Guess what? That nigga's almost 40. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about selling cocaine all the fucking time, Mike. How about that part about it? Maybe
yeah.
he actually wants to make quality rap records that other people who haven't pushed a quarter key understand. Did that ever occur to anybody? This is Mike. This is me talking. Nobody loves some street shit more than me, Mike. How many times do I pull up and randomly talk about Mobb Deep for no damn reason at all, Mike?
Yeah.
This is me
Uh,
talking. He's almost 40. He's trying to expand his palette. He's trying to get new listeners and new followers. Part of what made Jay and Nas the GOAT is not only because they expanded their following, but their core following stuck with them through them expanding their following.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
this shit that some of the people is on, and y'all saying that it's a 3.5. I'm not saying that you don't know shit because that's rude, but you're just not as good as me at this. And I'm telling you that you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
No, you're
And he
wrong. You're
deserves
wrong.
better treatment. He deserves better treatment than this from his core fan base that's been supporting him for real, Mike. Like he does.
I think we found the first topic of one of our spaces. We got to do one of
You
these
think
spaces and
you
talk
think
about.
you, Mike, I wrote down them songs because you really would have thought he made you owe me or Dr. Knockboot or some shit the way people are acting.
I mean, you know what?
There ain't no you owe me or Dr. Knockboot on here, nigga.
When I was driving and I heard Big Dog today, and I heard Wayne's voice. I mean, not voice, his verse. I thought it was special in the fact that this literally sounds like '05, '06 Wayne. It really did. Like this was one of those, and I'm not trying to gas it up or anything, but it was similar to like when I heard Magic. It's like, okay, well, this sounds like '98, '99. Like if you would have told me Big Dog's Wayne verse was an old verse, I could believe it. He sounds like old Wayne on there. I didn't know he could still sound like that.
Mike, Benny's verse is getting understated on Big Dog because of how great Wayne's verse is. The hook is understated, Mike. He's literally telling you in the verse, I'm a long way from that brick of fit. No. My driver stood outside while I hid raw. Like he's literally telling you he's moved on from it in the record, Mike.
Well, that was another thing that Ron said in the text too. He said he said that verse or that hook on Big Dog is fire.
Mike, I can't front. When I listen to Big Dog now, this is why albums are important, Mike. Braun and Big Dog back to back together on this album sound phenomenal in sequence together, Mike.
Was it a mistake putting both of them out before the album dropped though?
Mike, the way people are behaving, I wouldn't have put any of these records out. I'm not joking.
You gonna pull one
I
of
wouldn't have put
those
any of the
the people don't deserve a Kendrick Lamar album move?
No. We're not gonna be bougie about niggas who making whack shit. These are actually good songs Benny is making. Unlike Kendrick. Benny is actually making quality records. You want to know what a 3 is? You want to know what a 3.5 is? Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Mike. That's what I'm saying when people are tripping, calling this a 3 or 3.5. No, that bullshit Kendrick put out was a 3 or 3.5. You want to hear a 3 or 3.5, Mike? Go listen to most of the rap albums that came out last year. This ain't that.
Well, all right.
Right.
We got
It's a
103
lot of
votes here.
3.5s last year.
We got 103 votes here, right? And so I was asking people what would they rate the album. I got 5, 4.5, 4, 3.5. Didn't go any lower than that. 50% of the people are saying 3.5. 37% saying 4. 9% saying 4.5, and 5% saying 5. And this is out of 103
Mike,
votes right now. I don't know
Mike,
if y'all think it's a 3. I don't think this is a 3. That's why that wasn't even an option. Like, come on.
Mike. This is how you know that people are some haters, Mike. There's not one boom, 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 boom on this album except for West Side. There's not.
Sure.
Mike, there's not. Mike, there ain't no wrestling skit on here, Mike. You feel what I'm saying?
This doesn't sound like a Griselda album at all. And
And
not in a
people are
bad
hating on
way.
it
And
because
I
of
think
that.
people are punishing him for that. But when you
Yes.
go
It's
out
like, when the hell?
Griselda album, they'll say, "Oh, well, all their stuff sound the same." They're in a tough spot.
Right.
They're in a
Hold on,
tough
Mike.
spot.
Mike, the number one complaint about this crew is that they have been redundant and not switching it up enough. And then here he comes and switches it up, and everybody's like, "This isn't good." It's like, nigga, what do you want? What do you want? I tell you what. You want to know what? He's gonna go call Pablo Escobar right now and go pump a brick into the whole city for all you niggas, right? 10 bricks for all you niggas, all right? Because that's what you're really asking him to do. Do people understand what they're asking him to do? Like, you're literally asking him to stay the same by telling me that you don't like this product.
He's in a tough place, man. Or they're in a tough place because I think Conway's in a similar place. Conway's been doing different things, like you said. He got the song with Jill Scott and this and that, and people act like it don't exist.
Right. Mike, we were the only people that I heard talk about Chanel Pearls repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. It's a beautiful record.
Yeah. In the 106 and
You
Park
gotta
days, that would have been a hit.
You gotta let go and let this crew grow. But everybody's saying that this is a 3.5. Y'all are wrong. Like, first of all, Mike, we're gonna put it in the grading scale right quick.
Yeah.
And my expectation is that it's gonna be our highest ranking album of the 4 this year because it's the best rap album I've heard this year, Mike.
I think it's the best album this year. Best hip hop album this year. We're in January. So, people don't spaz out
We've
on
got a lot of dope projects in January already, Mike, and
Yeah, we
this
do.
is one of them.
Listen, I'm not gonna
Like,
lie,
hold
man,
on.
because I
I want
sat here
people.
on this same podcast when Burden of Proof came out, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. And everybody's saying that Burden of Proof is better than this album. This album's better than Burden of Proof. Now
Mike,
I'll go back and listen to Burden of Proof again and listen to this
no,
one back to back. I'll do that, but off of first couple listens, this album's better than Burden of Proof.
Mike, Coop did that. So hopefully you don't have to go through that. I listened to Burden of Proof today, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you want to pull up the track list in the Burden of Proof right quick? Because this is what I mean, where I'm literally starting to question niggas' ear about shit. Mike, there's so many skips on Burden of Proof, and I think Burden of Proof is still a 4, but man, y'all are fucking tripping. Mike, hold on. You want to go song for song right quick?
Sure.
Mike, do you even remember the song Burden of Proof that started off the album, Mike? Do you even remember the record?
Off the top of my head, I'm gonna say no, but I mean,
you want to know why, Mike? Because the record ain't that good, Mike. Where Would I Go featuring Rick Ross? You remember that?
I remember that.
No, what's better, that or Braun?
Braun's better.
Right. So Jermaine's Graduation is better than Burden of Proof. Braun's better than Where Would I Go? Sly Green, Mike, or Big Dog?
I'm going Big Dog.
I would call it a tie. Sly Green was about my favorite record on there.
Sly
Everybody
Green
Can't Go or everybody. Yeah, Sly Green was my shit. Everybody Can't Go or One Way Flight. That's One Way Flight.
That's
One Way Flight's the highlight of. One Way Flight's the best song on Burden of Proof. Correct.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Somebody said do a station.
Mike, we will. And you're gonna sound like fools. Mike, famous or trust more valuable than love?
Trust more valuable than love.
Mike, it's 4-1 already. We're 5 songs in. Both of the tracks are 12 albums long. Both of the albums are 12 tracks long. You want to keep going? Mike, Timeless or the Snoop record Back Again?
Back again. Easy. Easy.
Mike, New Streets or 1 Foot In, 1 Foot Out with Stove?
1 foot in, 1 foot out.
It's blowing Burden of Proof out the water. What are you niggas talking about? For real.
Recency bias, maybe.
Mike, Over the Limit featuring Dom Kennedy or Buffalo Kitchen with Armani Caesar?
Buffalo Kitchen.
Mike, we're on track 8. One Way Flight is the only song that's better. Do you remember when I just said to Adriel, when I said the only records that would make this album are Sly Green, One Way Flight, and War Paint? Do you see what I'm talking about now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, Trade It All or Pillow Talk and Slander? That might be Trade It All.
Yeah.
So right now, Mike, we're 9 records in. It's 7-2. The fuck are people talking about? Mike, Thank God I Made It. Thank God I Made It. Or How to Rap, Mike?
How to Rap.
8-2. War Paint or Griselda Express?
War Paint.
That's War Paint.
Yeah.
Mike, 8-3. Legend or Big Timers? I can give it to Legend.
Not a legend. And you know what? We'll go ahead and give Sly Green that one too, because everybody in the chat's going crazy. But
Mike, even if we give him Sly Green, it's still 7-5.
Sure.
It's not better.
Nicodemus of the Super Chat says B.O.P. is his most mid album. ECG is better by far.
You want to bring up Tana Talk 4, Mike? Because I listened to it up against Tana Talk 4 too. See, while niggas is just out here talking this shit, I'm actually studying and taking notes and listening to every project that the man made.
Right. With the Super Chat, hold on. He says Benny's album was aight. He said Benny's album was aight. Master Ace's album is better. We're gonna talk Master Ace on Wednesday.
No, nigga, you just all right. All right? Your ear is just all right. That's what I'm saying is it's like dudes are just going off of how they feel. No. When I listen to something, I take notes and then I go study and then I do a comparative analysis of the man's catalog. And the only thing better than this, succinctly, is Tana Talk 3, Mike. You want to go to Tana Talk 4?
Because Tana Talk 3 has those high moments. But again, those are the moments that we fell in love with Benny and his style from too. I mean, Rubber Bands and Weight, 97 Hove. Yeah.
97 Hove. Rick. Joe Pesci. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to do
what poll do y'all want us to do? People are saying poll. What poll do y'all want us to do?
No, Mike, we doing the poll right now live. Mike, you know how many records Tana Talk 4 is? It's 12 records. You want to run them down again? Because it's beating Tana Talk 4 too, because Tana Talk 4 isn't as strong on the back end as it is on the front end, Mike.
All of his albums are 12 songs? That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's calculated.
The major release ones has in the ones that have been made 2020 from 2020 on have been 12 records, Mike. Comparative analysis. He's literally setting it up for you to do a comparative analysis. Niggas is crazy today. All weekend I've been hearing this bullshit.
Oh, Coop paused out on us real quick. You there?
Watching According to Hip Hop.
Okay, yeah, you went out for a second.
Did you miss me? I was talking some more cash shit, Mike. I was saying, this is why I'm Coop, the best reviewer in hip hop. This is why you're not. Times like this, I want you to understand, you're not me. You didn't just spend the last 3 days listening to this man's whole catalog backwards and forwards. No, you didn't. I did that. So hopefully you don't have to go through that, Mike. You don't have to listen to any of these records, Mike. I did all this shit for you already. I listened to all the mixtapes. I listened to the BSF joint with Drama. I listened to the My First Brick mixtape. No, I went and listened to everything. The only thing that this is in conversation with is Tana Talk 3 and Tana Talk 4. And I would place it firmly between the two, as in above Tana Talk 4 and below Tana Talk 3. Burden of proof. Get the fuck out of here with that.
All right, let's see. That. I want to poll it real quick. We'll see what the people say. Oh, I don't want to put this other one in there. Hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. Burden of Proof for Everybody Can Go. And we getting all kind of spam tonight. Y'all spamming in the late night. What were you about to say, Coop?
Mike, the spam is better than these niggas' opinion. These niggas is wild. You understand that they're wild to try to sit up there and compare Burden of Proof to this album? And I'm not giving you, and I'm really not giving you Sly Green like that. Oh, like I'm not, and I love Sly Green. That's my favorite record on Burden of Proof, and I'm telling you, like objectively speaking, no. How about this, Mike? What's the best verse on the two records? Because Benny's verse and Wayne's verse are better than both of Benny's verses on Sly Green. What beat is better, Mike? What the fuck are people talking about? The beat is better on Big Dog. The rhymes are better. The flow
I was gonna
is
say,
better.
I think he was rapping better on this album than he was on Burden of Proof, in my personal opinion.
Way better, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, listen to some of the punchlines on here. Break it up in half like a divorce settlement. Rocky relationship with the game like Iverson and Larry Brown. Oh, I wrote it down because unlike you niggas, I take notes.
What are we rating this album?
Hold on. What'd he say? What are we rating this album? Let's get to that, Mike. Because what we won't be doing, look, unlike Adriel and Sean, who tried to include the people, this is why I don't include you. That's why I don't include you. And I won't be including you because you all do shit like this.
Well, it looks like Burden of Proof is winning 54% to 46% with 40 votes so
Mike,
far.
but we've already established, Mike, but we have already firmly established that these niggas don't study like I do or do their due diligence. They just
I
talk
wanted
about
to see if even after that comparative analysis of the 12 songs, if people change their mind. But, we'll see. It's Mike, 52% to 48%.
You don't want to go toe-to-toe with Everybody Can't Go with Burden of Proof. You need to play Tana Talk 4, Tana Talk 3.
Yeah.
That's it. It's better
because
than
Burden of Proof doesn't have those super highs like Tana Talk 3 does. You know what I'm saying? Or even 4, like you said, with Johnny P's Caddy. Like, Burden of Proof doesn't have those super highs. And I think this album has more highs than Burden of Proof does. And it's more consistent. I think we got LT in the chat, too. Shout out to LT out there. What were we saying?
What up, LT? Listen, Mike, for real, listening to people and their opinions will have you fucked up. It'll have you fucked up.
But it's all about
I won't be doing that.
You know what I'm saying? I love to hear people's, input and opinions on our opinions as well. But I will say this. Sometimes the public opinion of certain individuals is skewed. And I feel like this might be one of those cases. I don't know why.
Mike, I'm telling you, Mike, these are the same people that said It Was Written was just okay. That's what I'm trying to tell you. These are people that said It Was Written is just a good rap album, Mike. That's what these people are. Same people. It's them.
Let's go through the rubric. Yeah. I know it's getting late. Let's go through the rubric, and we got a few more things to cover.
Hold on one second. I'm writing everything down, Mike.
Okay.
Because unlike these niggas, I take notes. Hold on one second while I finish my note taking.
Yeah, there we go. Studying and taking notes. They said Burden of Proof was sequenced better.
Mike, the songs aren't better.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to sequence. To me, personally.
Right. What are you talking about sequence? There's only 3 great records on there.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. And again, you guys can go back and look at our original show on Burden of Proof. We're saying the same things here. And I'll go back and listen to Burden of Proof myself. But Coop said he listened to it and compared the two. So,
no, Mike, I didn't just listen to Burden of Proof. That's what I'm trying to tell these dudes. Unlike you niggas, I listened to that man's entire catalog over the course of the last 3 days. How many of you did that?
How many of you did that? Entire catalog. What does this album tell you?
It tells me that he's grown more as an artist that he's getting credit for. His hook game is better. His song structure is better. His ability to make more diversified records and talk less about the weight pushing and the hustling days and missing his brother. That's another thing too, Mike. It's not as much mentions about his brother, not as much mention about his mothers. He's really grown up as an artist. And when I hear people respond like this, it literally makes me feel like you want this nigga to stand on the corner and sell crack on record for his whole career. But then y'all the
Well,
same
no,
people
they
that
don't.
say Pusha. No, yeah, they do, Mike, because these are the same people that be like, man, Pusha T need to stop talking about pushing weight all the time. And then Benny stops talking about it, and this is what y'all do. You can't make up your damn mind.
I mean, the people don't always know what they want, but they like what they like. I think it's the energy and the fervor from the dope talk. But again, I didn't see anything on this album where I felt like his intensity was lacking because he wasn't talking about those things, right? I think
Mike,
if I had any critique, man, it might be like one or two Alchemist and Hit Boy tracks, but I think that's nitpicky when you look at the whole scope of it all. Because even
Mike,
that one track that we're talking about, what is that, Griselda Express? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, is it really that bad, or is the rest of the album that good where it makes it sound like it's incohesive? Just saying. I don't know, man. I think that some of the stuff that I'm hearing about this album, I think is a little bit unfair. But I do think it's the
I
best
think
hip hop album I've heard of 2024 so far. Is it beatable? Sure.
Mike, I'll tell you, not only is it beatable, it's going to get beat this year. But as of right now, Mike, everybody listen to Benny entire catalog the last 3 days. Raise your motherfucking hand. That's
I
why I
can't
am
even
who
say
I
I
am.
did.
That's why I am who I am, because I saw the comments, and that's what I'm saying. Instead of me talking shit, I literally dug into this man's entire catalog because that's my job and my responsibility to this culture as a reviewer and an accurate and objective reviewer. Now, those of you that saying that it's a 3.5 and you think burden of proof is better, or you think this, that, and the other, raise your hand if you listen to his entire catalog the last 3 days. Because if not, I'd rather take my opinion than yours because I put in the work.
Well, are you judging
All
it
right.
based on his catalog or just as an album, in itself? Because that's important too. Maybe you're looking at it from an individualistic
No,
standpoint where you're like, okay, well, I'm judging this
no,
based
Mike.
on what he's done as opposed to the
The only
overall thing. You know what I mean?
the only reason I went and listened to the catalog was about the responses that I've been getting. Because when I heard the album, I was like, this is one of his 2 best albums. 3 at the worst.
Yeah,
That was my initial thought after hearing it one time. And so when I'm reading the comments that I'm seeing, I'm like, nah, that don't match up. So let
I'm
me go listen
surprised.
to the whole catalog. Hold on. Let me go listen to the catalog to see if I'm tripping or to see if the people are tripping. Now, the same way I was honest about Lamar is the same way I'm being honest about this album. Like when I'm wrong, Mike, I say that I'm wrong. When the people are wrong, I'm gonna tell the people they wrong. Guess who's wrong? Y'all are wrong.
Well, all right.
You know?
This kind of reminds me of when the Killers put out Sam's Town. I always thought Sam's Town was incredible, even from initial, listen. But I remember Brandon Flowers, lead singer of the Killers, went out there before the album dropped and was saying stuff like, this is going to be the best rock album of the past 15 years, past 20 years, and stuff like that. And the critics killed him for it. But when I heard the album, I was like, this album's pretty great. And I think that some of those things are happening too. Like when you speak to the fervor of the album, and you should have confidence in everything. But when you get really specific, and so it's the hardest Def Jam album since It's Dark and Hell is Hot, I think that kind of
That was
puts an unnecessary target on your back with the fans, if anything. And maybe this is where people are coming from with it. I'm not sure. But if you just listen to the album as an album and kind of like, this is how I do it, I listen to it without a name on it or whatever. I'm just listening to the music. I don't care who made it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who's on it per se. I'm just listening to it for the music. It's a dope album.
Mike. The first time that I heard this album, I said, damn, that went really, really smooth and really, really well. The only problem that I have is the Griselda record didn't live up to expectations. Then I listened to it the second time and I was like, okay, got some sequencing issues, but this is a dope ass project.
Yeah.
Then I listened to the third time and I said, yeah, these motherfuckers tripping. I need to listen to his whole catalog this weekend so that I can come with the proper ammo and foresight to explain my point and my positioning. It's fine if y'all feel this way about it. Nobody's trying to discredit or discount your opinion. I'm just saying I'm the only person that I know that actually listened to this record 3 times in a row and then went back and listened to everything else that the man has made that I could literally put my hands on, and then went back and listened to this album 3 more times, and then I started taking notes, Mike.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that I'm better than you. I'm just saying I worked harder than you at my opinion. And that makes me better.
Mad Max in the super chat says, my January 28th playlist better sequence than these people's albums. Sorry, Coop. It's just okay. 3.75 the most. You know, I think that's an interesting thing that Mad Max said. I think the fact that people have their own playlists now, people feel like they can actually put albums together better than the professionals.
Mike, the people that think they can put albums together usually can't put themselves together in the morning, but okay.
MC that says, rappers need to stop saying they got album of the year. It's corny.
I agree. See, that's what I'm saying. I think some of y'all are responding more to the "It's Dark and Hell is Hot" commentary and more to his personal commentary about critics and about some of the fans than y'all are just looking at the album with no sort of bias. Mike, I brought up the sequencing issues. I brought up what I thought was a less than stellar Hit-Boy and Alchemist beat. Like, if sequencing and a couple of beats is all you got after what we just went through last year, Mike, do you know what we just went through last year? Like,
right.
It's called, Mike, in Hustler terms, it's called a drought. Last year was a drought.
Yeah,
There's
with the
some water
exception
right
of
here.
Nas and Hit, yeah.
There's some water right here.
Yeah. With the exception of
here's the thing
Magic
about it.
3.
I haven't listened to the Master Ace or the Boldy and Craven but one time, so I'm going to hold my sentiments. But this is the best project I've heard this year that I've listened to multiple times. And about the people's commentary, I went back and listened to the whole catalog. I'm going to say this again. How many of y'all really went back and listened to the whole catalog? Right. So let's rate this. Because, Mike, we like putting things in stone. Because I'm gonna remember, Mike, I'm going to remember all these niggas that said this album was a 3.5 and a 3.
He's right.
Remember all you niggas. No. Mike, we gave Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers a 3.5. Y'all think this is big? You think it's the Big Stepper album?
Yeah,
what kind of drugs are you on?
Yeah, this is better than that.
What kind of drugs are you on?
So let's go down the line, right? What are we rating?
Production, Mike. Out of 10, what would you give the production?
A 9.
Me too.
Or 8.5.
I'm cool with the 8.5 just because both of them had a misstep.
Yeah, we got to give room for the real 9s.
Lyrics, Mike.
I liked his mic performance on there.
Me too.
I'm looking at 8.
I'm thinking 8 as well, so we agree.
Yeah.
Content.
I would say about 7.
Same here. His flow and delivery, Mike, had a lot of different flows on this album. It's the most.
I think that's a 9.
It's the most diverse. Yeah, it's the most diverse I've ever heard him flow too, Mike. Like, he wasn't rapping over big timers type of beats and the song and the record with Snoop that Hit did. He wasn't rhyming over shit like that before, Mike.
Yeah, I give that a 9.
Impact. I think it's definitely having some impact. It's impacting these niggas that don't know what they're talking about, and it's impacting me who does know what he's talking about.
I think that the impact could be that's around an 8.5 or a 9 as well, because everybody's talking about it one way or another.
I'm gonna give it an 8.5 because I'd like to see it translate into some actual numbers for the man, seeing how he's actually on Def Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mike, sequencing I think is the worst part of this project.
And
sequencing,
even Mike, with that, I would say 7.
I've been one of the main people that's saying sequencing matters, Mike. And even with that being said, it's like I was thinking 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I was thinking about a 7. I don't think the sequencing, is that bad. I just think the potential for it to be much better was there. You know what I'm saying?
I think Big Timers has the last song instead of How to Rap is the biggest misstep of this album.
That is a big misstep. I will say that. But I think it
7.
starts off fairly, you know what I'm saying, accurate.
Mike, them first 6, 7, 8 records is bangers, Mike. I don't know
Yeah,
what the fuck
straight
people
up.
talking about.
So yeah.
Right.
Matt Max of the Super Chat says, see, your problem is morale was a 1 at best, not a 3.5.
If memory serves, Mike, I tried to give it a 3, and the people told us it was a 3.5. You got a lot of nerve, Mad Max. You got a lot of nerve saying it's a 1. You was one of them 3.5 ass niggas when I tried
Was
to. Mike,
he?
y'all
Not
was
Mad Max.
y'all was calling it an 1/8, Mike. I was calling it 3 grams.
All right, where we at next?
Hooks, Mike. And I'm surprised at what people are saying
I thought
about
the
the
hooks
hooks.
were really good. I'm really surprised at what people are saying as far as the hooks go.
People are tripping.
I gotta listen to the people, so I'll say about an 8.
Mike, I was thinking 8.5 because this is his most impressive hook performance to me.
I think the hooks were very impressive. I'm
We'll
cool
go
with
8 to do it.
8.5.
We'll do it. We'll give an 8 for the people who don't know what they talking about. Telling me to give Mr. Morale a 3.5 and then calling this a 3.5. You niggas is wild. You niggas is wild.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Song structure.
Damn, I don't want to be redundant and say 8 again, but I'm thinking about that because I mean, I like the way these songs were put together.
Me too. Hold on, Mike. While I'm tallying this up, Mike, let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when J. Cole dropped the off season?
Mm-hmm.
We gave that a 4, Mike. Isn't this better than the off season?
I think so, for sure.
Because I just don't want to talk about Kendrick and his whack ass album. I actually want to talk about another go to this era and his actual solid, good album that people liked and was well received. The off season was a 4, Mike. This is better than the off season. That's why I understand what people's talking about. It is better than the off season, and that's Cole, Mike. And Cole was rapping at a high level then.
Yep.
And it was still just a 4. And this is better than that. So I don't want to hear that 3.5, 3.75 shit. Since you love Hustler so much, since you niggas love Hustler and talk so much, get a motherfucking scale and add some more weight to it and give this shit a higher score.
Rubber bands
Fake
and weight.
ass.
But you know what? It's interesting because looking at the trajectory that J. Cole's currently on, and the fact that we don't really go back to the off season like that, I think that demotes the off season even more. Because with this run that Cole's been having recently, people should be running to the off season. You know what I'm saying? Matt Max with the super chat says, "I was always the one telling y'all that it was a 2." What the hell? And I for a fact, and for a fact, the sequence. I sequence better than the pros. That's what he's saying. Mad Max, I'm sure you sequence better than the pros for sure.
Mike, when we rate this album, it gets a 64 out of 80, which gives it an 80%, which is literally a half a point better than Paisley Dreams by the Game. It gets an 80%.
Okay.
That would put it in the lead. We're not being egregious. We're not overhyping the praise. If we were giving out a grade, it would get an 80% to Paisley Dream 79%. We're not tripping. You niggas are.
I think that's fair. Speaking of which,
it is fair, Mike, because we're fair.
You heard some of these diss records that came out today, or past couple of days?
The diss records are whack. Like these people's commentary about Benny's album. Keep going.
I'll say this. Nicki's diss record is definitely underwhelming. I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand where this whole thing with Megan came from. But the Benzino diss record towards Eminem, I must admit, I liked it.
You liked what? Hold on. Say that again. Mike, say that for the people in the back.
I liked the Benzino diss record of Eminem. I did. There was a quote that I said on Twitter. Go ahead.
Mike.
Yeah. Look, somebody in the chat said Benzino showed up, though. See, he did, man. Like, this is my thing, bro. Because of who it's about, this is the one thing that happens, or a few things that happen. If somebody like Benzino disses M, people, if it's good, we saw this with MGK. They're gonna be like, well, why are we even wasting our time? These guys are too old. Blah 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 blah. But if the other guy did the same thing on the other end, then oh my god, you know what these people were telling me on Twitter, Coop? When we question, or I question, the fact
You.
that Eminem in 2024 is still dissing Benzino and not responding to the Black Slim Shady, a bunch of these Eminem accounts pop up like, he did respond to him. He did respond to him. I'm like, well, where's the bar? They're saying that his response to the Black Slim Shady was Eminem saying, what was that line where he says, the reason why you still get played in the club is because you still perform there. That's an adequate response to a diss record? Even if that is the response, that's not a response. Say the man's name like you're so willing and able to say Benzino's name. And you know what? Benzino's not even a rapper full time. This is what I said.
Wasn't this?
I said
Okay. No, I
Eminem
read
is
what you
so
said.
comfortable with
I
going
read what you
at
said.
women and rappers that rap part time. Go with the game. But I'm glad that Benzino responded in the way that he did, and I think it was a really good response. He went over where I'm from, got on some hip hop shit with it. Is Benzino the best rapper? No, but some of the stuff that he said, it was real and it was valid. You know,
How did it? Explain to me how this started again. Eminem said something about his daughter Koi, right? Said something about Koi.
I think he said something. Well, you know what's been happening is Benzino's been doing interviews on podcasts as he normally does, and people are asking him about Eminem, and he's being honest with his responses. And so that's where
Okay.
he gets mentioned. And my thing is like,
First
okay,
of all,
you want to do that with Benzino, and this is where that fan base comes in at. So you don't think that a full out diss record warrants a response, but a podcast question or two does? What it looks like, Coop. And this is the optics, and the Eminem stands can say whatever they want. The optics are you pick and choose your opponents. It's what it is. So you got a real rapper over here who makes a full out diss record. And then you got a guy who really doesn't rap full time that's answering a podcast question. Like, but this is the person whose name you say.
now Mike, respectfully,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I mean about him never being able to overcome his whiteness. Floyd Mayweather Jr. picked opponents his whole career, and people walking around thinking he's the best fighter ever. So him being white has something to do with people feeling some type of way about him picking his opponents. That's one thing. Here's the second thing. These two old ass motherfuckers have done this before. They obviously don't like each other. It's obviously a little bit more personal and petty than it is with the game. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of grease and let you slide because you have been consistent with your motif that he needs to respond to the game and stop entertaining lesser than adequate rivals on the mic. And that
Yeah.
is fair. But this to me is really just old bad blood resurfacing. And quite frankly, neither one of these dudes are rapping at a high level right now as it currently stands. And that Benzino did, and I just listened to it, Michael. Listened to it before the show. It's cool. It
Yeah.
ain't all that.
For
It's
Benzino,
cool.
though, like, what do we really expect from a Benzino diss record aimed at Eminem, though? You know what I'm saying? If
I
we're
don't
looking
want
at
to
it,
hear this record from
I'm just
Benzino,
saying,
Mike.
if we grading it on that curve, I'm like, you know what? This is cool. Because this is what I will say. And I give credit where credit's due. In my personal excuse me, one of Eminem's strongest, if not his strongest diss record, was the diss record that went at Benzino. And that's The Sauce. The Sauce is great. And he gave Benzino 2 diss records. And you still dissing this man? Like, at this point, you being the rap guy, you being top 5 in so many people's eyes, why are you continuously going at somebody, A, you've already beaten, and then B, who's not even a top 100 MC all time. Why?
See, that's the difference between you and me, Mike. You see how everybody told me what the Benny album was, and I paid them no mind and told them they didn't know what they were talking about. That's the same thing I do when people tell me Eminem's a top 5 rapper, Mike. I don't entertain that shit.
He believes that.
That's why that's why I don't care.
He says the
That's
only
why
reason why he wasn't number one is because he's white. He said that recently.
maybe in his prime, Mike, in his prime, he was a top 5 MC, arguably. In his
Top
prime,
5 where?
arguable, Mike. As in, you can make an argument or a case for him in his prime. All time, Mike, I've been telling you that a more realistic placing for him all time is somewhere in the 15 to 25 range. And I'm going to treat him like that.
Well, this is what
And
I
so
want.
when he
What?
so when
Not
no
to
hold
cut
on,
you
Mike.
off. Go ahead.
So when he talks or when he disses, I don't treat it like it's coming from a top 5 MC, because it's not, Mike. He's
Where
not
do you
even
rank
better
him
than
as a
somebody
battle rapper, though? Because that's the discrepancy here. We talk about him like he's battle tested. He's only battle tested against Limp Bizkit, Britney Spears, Mariah Carey, Nick Cannon, Benzino. And I saw somebody in the Twitter thread, they try to throw Ja Rule in that. Like, no, he has nothing to do with the Ja Rule thing. That was all 50. He was just the icing on, like, he could have said nothing, and the same thing would have happened to Ja Rule. 50 had that. So give me a real rapper that he's really stepped in the ring with. The game gave him an opportunity. And really, it shouldn't even
Mike.
been no thing.
But this is what I'm saying, Mike. That's why I'm bringing up the Floyd thing. Name one of those fighters Floyd fought in his prime. That's a Hall of Famer.
No,
But
I
people
feel
walk
you.
around and say Floyd's one of the greats.
Well, see, the thing is, man, I feel what you're saying, and you're right to an extent. Sports is a lot about timing. It matters who was around when you were around, and it matters who you play and who you fight and all those things. And I will say this: he's a lightweight fighter. Nobody's going to sit here and tell you that Floyd's greater than Ali or something like that. I mean, you look at the opponents; it's different. What Floyd has to his advantage is he's never been beaten. We can't say the same thing for him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he
can't say
never fought anybody, Mike. But I'm bringing up Floyd in relationship to Eminem. It's like, well, who did you really dance with? Floyd didn't really dance with nobody in his prime. That's why when I be like Sugar Ray Leonard will whoop his ass, I mean that shit.
Yeah. Does anybody truly believe?
Everybody.
I mean, since we talking this top 5 talk and this and that, does anybody truly believe that Eminem would beat Big Daddy Kane in a battle, or Rakim in a battle, or KRS-One in a battle, or Nas in a battle, or what we saw even with Jay with the takeover? Does any? And these guys aren't even. You know, I mean, they're quote unquote battle rappers. They're just great MCs. You know what I'm saying?
So, Mike, but this is what I'm telling you about. Well, top 5 for his era. Now, I still think The Blueprint is Jay's second best album. Right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Eminem is on that album, Mike. He did out rap Jay.
No.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the album would be better if he wasn't on it. If that song was left off the album's better. That's just the truth.
I don't agree with that sentiment totally.
Really? That's one of the weak points in the album.
I think it possibly should. How about this, Mike? I've always told you it's like Lyrical Exercise should have been part of the album. You could have made Renegade a bonus cut. And so if you're talking in that regards, I agree with you because Lyrical Exercise
look at it like that. If you switch out Renegade for Lyrical Exercise, is it a better album?
Yes. I think if you put Lyrical Exercise in the actual playlist where Renegade goes, then I actually might give Blueprint the full nod over Stillmatic than telling you it's about a tie. How about that? So, and you know how I feel about Stillmatic. So that's saying a lot. But I also don't think Stillmatic is Nas' second best project. Another conversation for another day, Mike. But when I'm talking about M's capabilities, that is a prime Jay-Z. And even though he already had his hands on the record, Eminem in his prime has shown the capability to rap with somebody the likes of a prime Jay-Z, and even by some levels of estimation, outshine him. Now, unlike Nas, I don't feel like Jay got murdered on his own shit. I've been saying from the jump, from the moment I heard that song, Jay is doing a lot of what I like to call double time, double entendre rhyming that is hard for the average listener to catch on to. And so even if you feel like M has the better verse than Jay on there, it's not as wide as a gap as Nas made it seem on Ether, and how the white populace or Eminem fans try to make it seem. But what I'm saying is that if you can rap toe to toe with Jay-Z in 2001, yeah, you can rap your ass off. You may
Can I
not be
say
top
something?
5 all time. Yeah. I'll finish right here. You may not be top 5 all time, but when you can pull off those type of feats, you might deserve some consideration for your era. I think he's arguably top 5 for his era. That would put him somewhere in the 15 to 30 range, most likely. But no, he's not top 5. No, I don't think he's better than Kane or Rakim. That's wild to me.
He's not better in that era. He's not better than Beanie Siegel. But let me go back real fast.
I don't think Mike, in that era, the only guys that I think are better than Beanie Siegel are Jay-Z and Nas. All right. That's
Yeah.
just me personally.
So,
If we talking
and
on
what
some
I
rap
will
shit, the only
say,
two niggas out rapping Beans are Jay and Nas. That's the first and second greatest MC of all time. It's not a fair, accurate assessment.
and Scarface did make a fix in 2002. But this is what I'm gonna say.
Nobody's better than
We
Jay.
talk about degree of difficulty, right? What Jay did on what he did on Renegade, it backfired on him because he knew how versatile he was as an MC and how agile he was to adjust to anything. He went into this man's comfort zone so that M didn't sound crazy on one of his tracks. He went over there and was like, you know what? I'm going to adjust to him. And it backfired on him.
Hold on. Let me submit something to you, Mike, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about, let's say Renegade isn't even on the album, but since M is always looked at as this supreme lyricist and battle rapper, what do you think about M on Lyrical Exercise, Mike?
He can't catch it. He can only wrap up a pulsating beats. No, I don't think he can catch it. I mean, you're telling me
what, Mike? What the hell is that, Mike?
with the stuff that's like, I mean, listen to his tracks. All of his stuff is like
pulsating. Mike, did you just use pulsating to describe a beat? Like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about are you talking about the bass line? What are you
I'm
talking about, Mike?
like the kick drum. It's always like doom, doom, doom. Like, I mean, listen to Renegade.
Like a metronome?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he has rhythmic issues. You know what I'm saying? LP with the super chat says, right, Mike, he ducked the game smoke. He did. We're never going to forget that. Matt Max with the super chat says, Floyd beat world champs, Coop. He wasn't picking. Benzino, he was picking Canelo, and
First of all, Canelo in his prime probably would have beat Floyd because he probably would have knocked Floyd out with his punching power. That's what I'm saying. He fought Canelo before Canelo's prime. He fought Sweet Pea after his prime. The only people he fought in his prime were Ricky Hatton and Zab Judah. That is not about to fucking cut it.
Where visibility with the super chat says, have you ever been in the whip with your friends and someone said, put that Marshall Mathers LP on? LOL. Can't say it's happened to me, but you know, I do have a quick story. I was on a road trip, and there was some people who were talking this Eminem stuff. This is way back in the day. They're talking about he was top 10, this and that. And I was like, I think he better than DMX. They're like, yeah. We played as Dark and Hell is Hot. And niggas was jamming to everything on there. I was like, well, now let's play the Marshall Mathers LP. Skipping through. Nobody knew any of the words to any of those songs. Nicodemus with the super chest.
I never said he was better than DMX, Mike. You'll never hear me say something like that. That's outlandish.
Nicodemus with the super chat says, Marshall Mathers LP went diamond. Anybody else? I'll wait. I mean, listen, man, the numbers aren't in favor, but
Nicodemus, respectfully,
you're
Mike,
playing into my hand.
Respectfully, I hate to be the one to break it to people. In this culture, in this space, we don't really go off just the record sales. We always look at the record sales. Record sales are like an accent rug in the living room of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, that ain't the big screen TV. That ain't the leather couches that pull out with the recliners and the heated seats. They got the USB portal so you can charge up and do your thing. That's not the big glass coffee table that kind of like stacks up and pulls out. Got a remote control on it. It's not that. Sales are an accent rug in the living room of hip hop.
It's
Like when we
Illmatic
talk
diamond.
about
It's only built for
that's
Cuban
what I
links
mean.
diamond.
That's what I mean when I say it's paid in full diamond, Mike.
It's the low
Paid in
end
full
theory
diamond.
diamond.
Well, that's what I say when I say it's an accent piece because it's like, no, Mike, if Doggy Style sells 500,000 instead of 5 million, it's still a top 5-ish rap album all time.
It's Supreme Clientele
The
diamond.
end.
It's Into the 36 diamond. And you know what? And if those records aren't diamond, that diamond status doesn't mean too much. I mean, I'm just saying.
Mike, Shaggy and Vanilla Ice went diamond.
Yeah.
Give a fuck about no record sales out here. Accent rug.
Yeah.
Nice little accent rug. Got all this black furniture around. Red accent rug. Go.
Andrew Williams
That's what sales are.
says two things can be true. Eminem and Floyd duck smoke. Well, see, this is the thing.
Duck a lot of smoke.
I think that Floyd's
a lot of
smoke ducking is strategic. Eminem's smoke ducking is because he can't beat these people that people claim that he can beat. And what I don't like is the fact that when it comes to the game specifically, who clearly Eminem's running away from, people try to downplay the game in the record that he put out just so they can keep this notion that Eminem is unbeatable or something. All of y'all out here talking about nobody wants it with this guy because he'll ruin people's career. And like, why don't rappers come at him? Why don't rappers come at him? And then when Game challenges him and got in the interview and said, you know what, I'm better than him, and then backed it up with putting a record out there, radio silence, nothing. And the fans would go out there and be like, well, he didn't come back at him because there wasn't no real beef. Did he have real beef with Mariah Carey or something? Y'all sound crazy, man. The way y'all make
Mike.
excuses for this man is insane. It is insane. Straight up insanity.
The Game is the most underrated MC of all time, Mike.
Yeah.
It's the most underrated MC of all time.
You want to talk about somebody that nobody wants it with, that dude won't stop. He won't. And Eminem knows that.
He will go.
He saw what he did.
He will keep going.
Yeah, he saw what he did to G Unit. He saw that up close and in person. He don't want no problems with that. Andrew Williams with the super chat says, Mike is right about Eminem. Well, I appreciate people finally catching on. Matt Max with the super chat says, Canelo had 43 fights when Floyd's gave him a lesson, and Floyd was going up to 154. And he was 140
He did not have no damn 43
fighters. 43 fighters more than Bud. Just saying.
He did not have no damn 43 fights, and you know it. You talking about them fights in Mexico that were unsanctioned. Get the hell out of here with that.
Not the unsanctioned Mexican fight.
He talking about like 20 unsanctioned fights from when Canelo was like a teenager. Get the fuck out of here with that. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Mad Max.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, Mike,
chickens and Coronas running around and shit, Mike. You know what the fuck I'm talking about? Talking about an actual sanctioned fight, Mad Max. You got a lot of nerve.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, Mike, you seen that Game and 40 Glock punch in the Bushes video? That's why Eminem's not responding. No, Game made it clear. This ain't about violence. This is about mic performance, and this is about lyrical competitiveness. That's a cop-out too, Leroy. No, nobody's saying he wants to fight the man or anything like that. And it ain't no beef either. It's just challenging somebody on the mic. And if he's everything people say he is on the mic when it comes to battle rapping, what's the problem? But MGK,
I get irritated. I get irritated when we talk about Eminem because I don't only have you to contend with, but then I feel like you hype these people up and they keep talking about Eminem, which keeps hyping you up. Mike, it's like a dysfunctional relationship with a vicious cycle when we talk about Eminem. Everybody needs some therapy.
It's like I said, when I go through
you don't know how to rate albums, you don't know how to rate Eminem.
When I go through these threads and I hear these excuses that people make for M, it's insane, man. Like when Royce, he ducked Lupe and Mickey Fax. We called it what it is, and that's fine. Royce is a great MC. All that he ducked him, but we can't say that about him. Him ducking the game. It is what it is.
No, Royce
That's
came
another
out.
thing, Coop.
Royce did a diss.
3-4 years later, but he was ducking him for a minute. You know, it is what it is. He didn't want to come back too quick because Lupe was going to come back in a couple of hours.
Mike, probably 30 minutes, Mike.
Yeah, the man is a genius. But what I was going to say,
I don't know about that.
Oh, he's pretty smart. I give him that. What I was going to say though, I don't want to hear Royce. I don't want to hear anybody from D12 coming Benzino or nothing. No, I don't want to hear any of that stuff. And you know what? If I do hear any of those people, Eminem lost off rip. If he don't respond to Benzino with this, it's an L. Sorry.
I do not want to see this petty ass rap battle, Mike.
I'm fine with it. Speak your truth, Benzino. Because
can we talk about the real?
Because this guy talks about people all the time, but whenever somebody responds to him,
Can we talk about the real rap battle, Mike, which is Nicki and Megan? That's a real rap battle, Mike.
We could talk about that. We'll get out of here. I know it's late for people. King with the super chat says, Crossroads. Right. King says, the Crossroads or I'll be missing you. Crossroads.
In a landslide.
Yeah. Mad Max to the super chat says, all these guys fight when they are teenagers. It's true. That's
not in Mexico. Not in Mexico, Mad Max. Unsanctioned. No, they don't. It's wild.
Mad Max with the super chat says, we count Devin Haney over overseas fights when he was a kid. Just remember Floyd beat the most world champs ever in only 50 fights. He picked champs.
He picked champs past their prime. Muhammad Ali fought people in their prime. Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ken Norton, Sonny Liston. Fuck all that. Sugar Ray Leonard fought Hall of Fame fighters in his prime.
He did.
Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Sure.
Who am I missing? Who am I leaving out? Detroit. The Detroit dude.
I know you're talking about. Hold on, let me get this super chat. Clayton is asleep with the super chat. Says, popping in late, y'all. Peace, love. Yeah. Hitman. New Benny project is cool, but I feel like it's a failed attempt at combining Burden of Proof and Tana Talks 4. Both better albums in my opinion. Pumped for Conway.
Clayton, go back to sleep.
Not Clayton is asleep. Clayton said, I just woke up. Tuned in late.
Go back to sleep, Clayton. You're wrong.
You want to talk about the real? You want to talk about the real battle because we're just gonna let Eminem skate through here and not have to respond to anybody. Like I said, I don't want to hear anybody else respond to Benzino but Eminem. I don't want to. And honestly, you know what? I don't want to hear Eminem respond to Benzino until we get a game response. I want to confirm that he was really speaking on the game. Go with the game.
I'm firm in the fact that when the game this happened, I told you that I felt like Eminem should respond. Excuse me. And I'm also going to be firm in the fact that don't nobody want to hear no damn Eminem and Benzino back and forth. This ain't 1999.
Again.
Literally a quarter century later. Nobody cares.
But Eminem started this. He did. He got on record first. And you know what's impressive too, Benzino did? The Eminem record came out Friday and Benzino came with a response on today. Like, was it today or yesterday? In days. I'll put it that way.
You know,
gotta give him credit.
I learned a lot. Mike, I learned a lot in my court mandated class today about the things that I can control and that I can't control, Mike. And I can't control none of this Eminem shit that you do. So I'm just going to have to learn to control the things that I can control.
Eminem could just prove me wrong. If he could beat Game in a straight up rap battle, then I have nothing to say. But I don't believe he can do it. Just like I don't believe he can rap over a DJ Premier beat. I don't believe he can rap over a Dilla beat either. I still haven't been proven wrong on any of that either.
Just
rhythmic issues.
controlling the things I can't control.
Ill Magic with the super chat says, so I guess the rules are you can't have an opinion about Kendrick and Eminem, but you can talk about everybody else. Yeah, pretty much.
First of all, the only thing Kendrick and Eminem have in common right now is that neither one of them knows how to make a good album. Next.
Mad Max with the super chat says, Sugar Ray ducked Hagler until Hitman and Duran fought him. Look at Mad Max doing this.
First of all, stop Googling stuff before you send your super chat in. Since you wanna go there, Hagler was a light heavyweight, not a middleweight, and so that was more about size than it was ducking. I know my history too, with your Googling ass.
But yeah, we're gonna keep hearing.
I know my history without Google.
Not worth the response. Okay, before we get out of here, Nicki and Megan going back and forth. Well, it seems like more of Nicki's just going at Megan because I ain't really hear anything that Megan put forth. I listened to the Hiss record on Friday because Megan had new material out, and I was, interested in hearing new music from Megan. And when I heard the song, I didn't think anything about Nicki at all. Like I didn't even hear where she got offended. It might have went over my head or whatever. So when Nicki started coming back, I was like, where's this coming from? Felt like it came out of nowhere.
Mike, I woke up this weekend, hopped on Twitter, and Nicki was in what I like to call machine gun funk mode, Mike. She was just emptying the clip about anything she could say. Brrrah, brrrah. And I don't know where it came from, or I don't know how it came, but here's what I know. When I was reading the tweets, I was reading somebody that was trying to big dog Megan. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Nicki following just on Twitter is like 30 million people, Mike, which is absurd. Right. Like she literally, I don't think people understand. Like she doesn't have rap star following, she has pop star following. Okay?
Right.
And I think she's playing a little bit of a big bank take little bank, as in like, oh no, it doesn't matter what you say or think because your arms are too short to box with me. Like your reach is not as long as mine out here in these streets, in this world, in this digital complex, in this music scope, in this money scope. Oh, but Mike, when it got ugly, it got ugly. Megan's fans are posting rape kits of the husbands charged. And here's the thing about it. Now, I've always said this, Mike. Oh no, this is rap. It's no holds bar, Mike. There are no rules. It's free bands. And so you want a big dog. Mike, I was up on P Street about 1 a.m. grabbing some food. I seen the rape kit thing come up and I was just like, like it's there now. The Hiss record's better than the Bigfoot record though.
It is. The Bigfoot
I'm always going to go back to I'm always going to go back to the quality of music at the end of the day. But the shots being taken by Nicki, Mike. Yeah. Those to quote Big Daddy Kane, right hook is like Joe Frazier's. I'm the bodacious.
Like you said, Hiss is better than Bigfoot. So I think Megan still may need to respond to Bigfoot. And I think that it's a beatable record. You know what I mean? Like in a response way. Now, granted, if the first record is better than the follow-up record, which would be, Hiss, like you said, that's better than Bigfoot, she still needs to respond since Bigfoot came after. You know what I mean?
I mean, Mike, not being funny, and I want to delve into people's personal business, but it's like, spade is a spade. Court documents say sexual offender for a couple people around her.
It's true. Christopher Hogan with the super chat says, why didn't Pusha T respond to Jim Jones? That's a good question.
That is a good question, Chris. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'd like to find out why.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was, and you know what? I'm not going to be a hypocrite. That's the same competitive fervor that, the Game and Eminem was. And the Game didn't have a real problem with Eminem. He just wanted to prove he was the better rapper. And I think that Jim Jones, to some level, wanted to get that out of Pusha T as well. He wanted to prove that this guy isn't as high as many of y'all have him on the list. And Pusha never responded to that. So I we got to give him that same smoke too. So that's fair.
We have to be fair and unbiased about it, Mike.
Yeah,
I told
Pusha's
you
my
that when
guy.
Jim. And how about this? The way that you're a bigger fan of Get Light than I am, even though I love Get Light. Oh, you're a fan of Pusha T. I think I'm probably the bigger fan between the two, so I probably taking it more personal. But I said this when it happened. It's like this nigga got about 5 days to respond, or we gonna have a problem.
Yeah,
and that response never came. So the problem remains, Mike.
I agree.
Because I don't care if you're my guy or not. I don't care if you're like one of my personal favorite rappers of all time, because he is that. Give a damn.
I mean, because listen, Pusha never misses the opportunity to throw a shot at Drake. Like, he never.
But also, too, Mike, part of me did think, maybe Cameron had some sort of relationship with Pusha T from when they did Popeyes. And maybe Cam might have reached out to both sides and told him to chill. Cam, like, I love what Cam's doing in the place that Cam is in. And he appears to be in a place in life where I think it has to do with some of the personal losses that he's incurred, which I'm not going to mention here because it's really not our place to. But I think maybe Cam may have something to do with this behind the scenes about being like, I need y'all to squash that.
I mean, but I think what they got going on is even recent, because you don't think that when Jim Jones went out there to Paris and walked on the runway, you don't think he was mocking Pusha T walking on the runway a day before that?
It's definitely Mike. Mike, go run the tape.
Yeah, run the tape.
I was like, yo, I know you're just gonna let him do that, right?
Pusha, you gotta say something. Mad Max in the super chat says Nicki went off because of the Megan's Law line, which was the only shot, but Nicki threw all the best lines on Twitter.
No, Nicki didn't throw lines on Twitters, Mike. Those were haymakers.
Right.
Like those were haymakers. She was like, I mean, she bringing up Meg's mom. God, those who were not here. Like,
man, that's too much, in my opinion.
Mike, when it's rap, Mike, that's what people we don't have a handbook about how to handle beef. There's not a handbook. Ain't no fucking HR for when you beef in the rap game, Mike. Be like, hey, need to read the handbook, nigga.
You shouldn't have to go there, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the handbook says, here's where bigger heads prevail. Let's go back to the Jay-Z and Nas thing. Well, some things were said by Jay, and it was like, Jay's mom was like, nigga, hold on. That ain't how you beef.
Right.
Mike, when I listen to No Vaseline now, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, damn, Cube. You ain't have to do all that. In a vacuum, right. Mike, and I'll tell you something. You want a quick hot take, Mike? I think I've finally come over to your side. No Vaseline's the greatest diss record of all time.
I think so.
Because Mike, he did dismantle NWA with that record. They never made anything else after that.
Right.
And it was kind of one of those cat out the bag moments where it's like, well, damn. Ren caught it the worst.
I think so too.
Yeah, Ren caught it the worst.
Yeah.
But Ren was the MC in the crew then. You're supposed to give it the worst to your biggest competition. And Ren was the MC left in the crew. Oh, all types of body bags, Mike.
Right.
And I like the Villain in Black. Like the rapper and the album. But yeah. But ain't no rules to it, Mike, literally, unless somebody mama steps in and's like, nigga, stop.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Dot with the super chat says Kendrick ran from Big Sean. Did he? Okay. Well, I guess we got to get up out of here, man. It's almost midnight.
I mean,
we're on a late night, for real.
Talking about Kendrick ran from Big Sean. Running from Drake right now. Damn a Big Sean.
Right.
Not like damn a Big Sean like he's not credible. Talking about some 10-year-old shit. How about 2023, nigga?
It's currently happening right now. Michael Williams in the super chat says, who did the 50-50 production better? Ye and Pharrell on It's Almost Dry, or Hit and Alchemist on Everybody Can't Go?
Mike, Everybody Can't Go. Everybody Can't Go is better than Almost Dry too, Mike.
It is.
Because it doesn't have the low moments that Almost Dry has. Now it's Almost Dry has better high moments because it's got Brambleton, Let the Smoker Shine, the Coop. It's got Diet Coke. You know what I mean? Like, so it's got higher moments, but in the end, no disrespect to y'all, but I do this. You know what I'm saying? Holla at me when you do this, like all the time. Like, holla at me when you do this. Holla at me when you see it play in the street.
Right. Well, let's get up out of here, man. Hit like and subscribe. We're gonna be back Wednesday, talking some more music. Shay Noir, Master Ace, and Stove, right?
Boldy.
Boldy. I'm tripping. Boldy. So yeah,
Boldy and Craven. The Boldy and Craven.
Yeah.
The Master Ace. The Che is dope. It's a 4-song EP, but we're gonna talk about it. Che's fire.
Shout out to Shay. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night. I'm about to get me some sleep. I'm tired as hell.
Yeah, y'all stick to listening to music, not rating albums.
There it is.